Chapter 114. In Zichen's grotto heaven, Feng Zichen sat cross-legged under the star tree, visualizing the Tyene star in his heart. Gradually, a black moon rose behind him, half hidden and half hidden. It shone with a black light, and the innate Tyene chi rolled out, spreading in all directions. Everything within 10,000 miles was shrouded in black mist. Come! With a command, the star tree trembled violently, and the Tyene star's shadow appeared like a mirror, swaying in the wind, and palaces, streaks of silver light fell from the sky, turning into Tyene origin chi and fusing into the black moon behind Feng Zichen, making it even darker. Then the Tyene star's shadow dissipated into specks of light as if it had run out of energy, and the star tree returned to normal. Innate Tyene divine light form! Feng Zichen formed a seal with his hands, and the black moon behind him shrunk, turning into an illusory black light that devoured the innate Tyene chi in a frenzy. Again, in the sky above Zichen's grotto heaven, the illusory Tyene star shook violently, and strands of innate Tyene chi helped the innate Tyene divine light to form a solid form. However, just as the innate Tyene divine light was about to form, Feng Zichen's innate yang divine light suddenly appeared on its own, as if it sensed a threat. A dot of innate yang divine light flashed, and the innate yang divine light shattered the innate Tyene divine light. In an instant, the Tyene chi flowed out, freezing everything within 10,000 miles. Still not enough? As he spoke, Feng Zichen waved his sleeves, and a vast amount of dermic power surged out. With a cracking sound, the ice shattered and turned back into innate Tyene chi, which was then sent into the Tyene star. Sigh. It seems like my plan to cultivate the innate yin-yang divine light has failed. After a long while, Feng Zichen sighed. He had suffered a great loss this time. He had planned to use the Tyene origin chi to cultivate the innate Tyene divine light, and then merge it with the innate yang divine light to evolve into the legendary innate yin-yang divine light. Unfortunately, he didn't expect the repulsive force of yin and yang to be so strong. The innate divine light of yang shattered the divine light of yin directly, not allowing it to exist in his body. After all, the innate extreme yang divine light was condensed from Feng Zichen's essence, while the innate extreme yin divine light was condensed from an innate extreme yin origin. The difference between their natures was too great. One side was strong while the other was weak. Moreover, they were hostile to each other, so it was naturally impossible for them to coexist peacefully. As such, not only did Feng Zichen fail to cultivate the innate Tyene divine light, but he also lost a surge of his chi of origin. It was truly heartbreaking. It seems like I'll have to find an innate source of yin to cultivate the innate yin-yang divine light. But the eldritch wilderness has been established for so long. Innate sources have either turned into innate fiend gods or innate spiritual treasures. Where am I going to find one? Feng Zichen scratched his head. He had been coveting the innate yin-yang divine light for a long time, but now he found out that he couldn't cultivate it. Sigh. The demons are really a hindrance. In fact, the innate yin origin wasn't too difficult to find. At the very least, the innate yin origin wasn't lacking in the Tyene star. However, that was the demon's territory after all. Now, Feng Zichen didn't even dare to use the starlight, let alone steal the innate yin origin from the Tyene star. It was fine when he was in the golden immortal realm. The starlight he used was scattered on the eldritch wilderness, so the demons couldn't discover it. But after he became a Tai Jinxian, he could use the power of the Zhoxing origin. If he used it once or twice, it would be fine. But if he used it frequently, the demon star lord wasn't blind. How could he not discover it? By then the demons would think that he was the innate star god hiding in the eldritch wilderness. That would be fun. Forget it. After the Great Witch-Demon War, I'll go to the Tyene star and collect the innate yin origin. No, by then, I still want the innate yin origin. I want the entire Tyene star. After thinking for a while, Feng Zichen put aside his distracting thoughts and took out the chaos bead. He planned to deduce a supreme grand skill, Qi. With Feng Zichen's current strength, he couldn't activate the shadow of Mount Buzhou. But with the shadow of Mount Buzhou in his body, he could suppress all external forces, including the Qi. As soon as the innate evil Qi rushed into his body, before it could do any damage, the Buzhou mountain's shadow trembled slightly, and a suppressive force came from it, pressing the innate evil Qi into a ball, stopping it from moving. Great! Innate 5 elemental divine light, innate yang divine light, 10,000 elephant divine lightning. Go! Feng Zichen's arcane energy surged out madly as he cast all kinds of skills onto the heaven and earth furnace. Roar! Above the heaven and earth furnace, there were the roars of sacred beasts, thunder rumbling and divine light flashing, causing its power to increase exponentially. The refining power surged and swept towards the connate baleful aura with all its might. Under the suppression of the shadow of Mount Buzhou, the innate evil Qi couldn't resist at all. It was constantly refined by the furnace of heaven and earth, turning into streaks of black light that flowed into Feng Zichen's body. Qi. He understood that this was because his body was too weak and could not withstand the power of the innate baleful Qi, causing his physical body to be damaged and sending him intense pain. In Feng Zichen's sea of consciousness, an illusory figure of a deity with a blurry face appeared. His aura was incomparably majestic, and a purple-black evil spirit flowed on his body. As the strongest chaos demon god, Penguin naturally had an innate baleful aura. However, it was not called Chaos Baleful Aura, but Duqian Divine Baleful Aura. As the innate evil Qi circulated, strands of evil Qi fused into his flesh and blood, constantly strengthening his body. Slowly, the sharp pain began to lessen until it disappeared completely. Chapter 115. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The chaos bead trembled for a moment and spat out a black crystal. It was so dark that it seemed to absorb all the light, plunging the surroundings into darkness. The wails of gods and demons sounded, and the scene of thousands of creatures dying appeared. It was extremely terrifying, as if the gods had all fallen and the world was coming to an end. A terrifying aura filled the air. The black crystal came from the deepest part of Mount Buzhou. It was a product of highly condensed chaotic evil Qi and contained a large amount of chaotic evil Qi. Since the Kane evil Qi had been exhausted, it was time to use the stronger chaotic evil Qi. This time, Feng Zichen went all out and was determined to cultivate the divine evil Qi. Heaven and earth furnace, go! As soon as Feng Zichen finished speaking, a powerful suction force came from the heaven and earth furnace and sucked the black crystal in. Attacked, the black crystal exploded, releasing wisps of chaotic evil Qi that crashed into the heaven and earth furnace with boundless power. Crack! Crack! The chaotic evil Qi was so powerful that it cracked the heaven and earth furnace with just one hit. It was full of cracks and would shatter at any time. Rumble! Sensing the existence of the chaotic evil Qi, the phantom of Mount Buzhou emitted a deeper Taoist rhyme, revealing a vast and ancient aura. Vast divine power suddenly pressed down and suppressed the chaotic evil Qi. With a flash of divine light, the cracks on the heaven and earth furnace disappeared, and refining power surged out toward the chaotic evil Qi. Unfortunately, even though it was suppressed by the phantom of Mount Buzhou, the chaotic evil Qi was still extremely powerful. Compared to it, the refining power of the heaven and earth furnace was too weak and couldn't shake it at all. Feng Zichen wasn't surprised by this. If he could easily refine the chaotic evil Qi, how could he live up to its name? Break! Raising the Hongming Daozhong, Feng Zichen struck it hard. A loud bell rang, and a power that could destroy all things broke the black crystal into pieces. At the same time, The Tree of Worlds spat out a stream of origin energy of heaven and earth, which turned into blazing flames and burned toward the heaven and earth furnace. The chaotic evil chi was refined, and a trace of purple-black evil chi gradually appeared on Feng Zichen's body. Outside Zichen's cave, the members of the Z clan cast a spell, opened a passage, and pulled the golden phoenix inside. "Sister, this is the place. Zichen is cultivating in seclusion inside. Is this a high-grade grotto heaven?" Walking into Zichen's grotto heaven, the rich Xiantian chi gushed out, shocking the golden phoenix. The two of them entered Zichen's grotto heaven and continued walking. Not long after, they saw Feng Zichen sitting on the ground with his eyes closed. His body was surrounded by a thin layer of dark purple evil chi. As for the star tree, although it was rooted in Zichen's cave, its real body was in the endless void. Besides Feng Zichen, no one could see it. The star tree was related to the fate of Zhousing. If outsiders knew that the tree was in the hands of the human race, it would definitely attract many powerful figures to fight for it. With Feng Zichen's strength, he would not be able to keep it. It's so powerful. Just by looking at the dark purple evil chi, the golden phoenix felt as if her eyes had been pricked by needles. At the same time, she felt a sense of extreme danger, which made her shudder. Feng Zichen opened his eyes, and a purplish-black light flashed. A terrifying aura spread out, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. Cold yin qi filled the air. "Nice to meet you, Zi Huang." Standing up, Feng Zichen first greeted the Z clan, and then asked in confusion, "May I know who this fairy is?" "This is the golden phoenix of Emperor Nvua's palace. I have something to discuss with you. Also, the evil chi here is so strong. Zichen, what are you doing?" The surrounding cold chi made the Z clan feel uncomfortable. She could not help but frown and ask, "This is a great divine sense that I have just cultivated. I'm not familiar with it yet, so it caused the chi to leak out. It's not a big deal." Shaking his head, Feng Zichen did not explain too much. Using evil chi to cultivate a divine sense would inevitably offend cultivators, even if the divine sense originated from Pengu. "May I know why you are looking for me?" Feng Zichen turned around and asked the golden phoenix, "His Majesty Zhu Huang asked me to give you this as a gift to thank you." With that, the golden phoenix took out a phoenix feather and handed it to Feng Zichen. "His Majesty Zhu Huang and Her Majesty Nua both praise you. Your future is really limitless. It's all thanks to the two majesties." Feng Zichen took the phoenix feather and smiled modestly. The phoenix feather was long and narrow, emitting a colorful light. The chi of the 5 virtues was circulating around it, and the nirvana flame was burning around it, deducing the truth of life and death. As soon as it was in his hand, the phoenix feather shone brightly with colorful light. Innate talismans emerged and turned into a connate Tao scripture, which fell into Feng Zichen's heart. The connate Tao scripture of life and death. This was a Tao scripture of life and death, which directly evolved from the Tao of life and death. It explained the truth of life and death. If one could fully comprehend it, he could become Daluo Jinxian. This is too precious. At this time, Feng Zichen realized how extraordinary this item was, not to mention the connate Tao scripture of life and death. This phoenix feather was also an extraordinary treasure. It was not inferior to ordinary connate spiritual treasures. Judging by its power, it was probably Zhu Huang's tail feather. "My friend, this phoenix feather is the tail feather of His Majesty Zhu Huang when he transformed into the vermilion bird. It is extremely precious and contains part of His Majesty Zhu Huang's origin. Countless people in the Phoenix clan yearn for it, but can't get it. His Majesty Zhu Huang gave it to you, which shows how much His Majesty values you." After that, the golden phoenix looked at Feng Zichen curiously. He wondered what he did for Zhu Huang that made Zhu Huang give this item to him. One must know that there were only 9 phoenix feather in the entire Phoenix clan. However, although the Golden Phoenix was curious, he did not ask Feng Zichen about it rashly. It was better to know less about the affairs of the Almighty, lest trouble come knocking on his door one day. Then, I'll accept it shamelessly. After thinking for a while, Feng Zichen put away Zhu Huang's phoenix feather. After all, for Zhu Huang, no matter how precious this item was, it was not as important as freedom. Fairy, this is the first time you've come to the human clan. I suppose you don't know much about the human clan. How about I show you around and show you the sights of the human clan? Feng Zichen suggested after looking around. Thank you, my friend. The Golden Phoenix thought for a while and nodded. It would be bad if she did not know anything about the human clan when the Nuwa asked her about it after returning to Emperor Nvua's palace. Fairy, you're too polite. If you can put in a few good words for the human clan in front of Her Majesty, Zichen will be very grateful. Feng Zichen waved his hand and said, Uft, you're such an interesting person. The human clan was created by Her Majesty and is equivalent to Her Majesty's child. Her Majesty cares a lot about the human clan. There's no need for me to put in a good word for them. The Golden Phoenix could not help but laugh after hearing Feng Zichen's words. Chapter 116. On the shore of the East Sea, Ao Shui, Water Dragon King, and an unfamiliar man appeared with a flash of light and flew towards the human ancestral temple. Ao Shui and Water Dragon of the Dragon Clan and Xuanqi of the Black Tortoise Clan have come to congratulate Swearin Taoist priests. Their voices came from afar before they even arrived. In the meeting hall, Suerinsher's heart skipped a beat when he heard this voice. He transmitted his voice to Feng Zichen. Zichen, our friends from the Dragon Clan and the Black Tortoise Clan are here. There will be friends from other clans coming in a bit. I can't leave right now, so please receive them on my behalf. Inside Zichen's grotto heaven, Feng Zichen, who was taking Golden Phoenix to tour the Ziwei Mountain, suddenly stopped and said apologetically, Fairy, I'm really sorry. I have some matters to attend to in the human ancestral temple. Please forgive me. It's fine. The human ancestral temple is more important. Please go ahead. Golden Phoenix nodded in understanding. Thank you for your understanding. With a smile, Feng Zichen took a step forward and arrived outside Zichen's grotto heaven. With another step, he arrived in front of Ao Shui and the others. Ao Shui, Dragon Lord, long time no see. Feng Zichen was very happy to see old friends. He couldn't help but quickly walk up and greet the two. Noticing the unfamiliar man beside the two, Feng Zichen asked, How should I address you, fellow Taoist? This is Xuanqi of the Black Tortoise Clan. He came with us to congratulate fellow Taoist Swearin. Seeing the confusion in his eyes, Water Dragon King stepped forward and introduced him. Greetings, fellow Taoist Zichen. I've heard of your name for many years. It's a pleasure to finally meet you today. Xuanqi carefully sized up Feng Zichen and said, Everyone, this is not the place to talk. Please follow me to the guest hall. With a wry smile, Feng Zichen changed the topic and led the three to the guest hall. He didn't know how the 5 elemental sacred beasts praised him in their clans, but most of the clans had a different impression of him. Their words gave off a strange feeling. Golden Phoenix was like that, and now Xuanqi was like that. Mo Zhang of the Qilin clan and the White Tiger clan. Jian Shan of the White Tiger clan is here to congratulate Swearin Taoist priests. Before Feng Zichen's friends and clans and white clans of the White Dragon Clan and the White Dragon King and in White Dragon came. Our friends from the Qilin clan and the White Tiger clan are here. I'll go and pick them up. Please wait for a moment. After the 5 elemental sacred beasts agreed to protect the human tribe became the ally of the 5 elemental sacred beasts. Although this ally was a little weak, it seemed to have great potential. Now that Swearin had succeeded Daluo Jinxian, the human tribe's strength had increased greatly. As allies, the 5 elemental sacred beasts couldn't help but send 5 outstanding clansmen to congratulate them. After the meeting, Swearin first received the representatives of the 5 elemental sacred beasts. Then he called Feng Zichin to the main hall of the ancestral temple. Zichin, Her Majesty has ordered the 3 of us to go to Emperor Nvuo's palace for an audience, and we don't know how long it will take for us to come back. Therefore, I've decided to pass on the position of chief of the human tribe to you. In the years to come, you will lead the human tribe. Under the statue of Nvuo, Swearin said to Feng Zichin solemnly, What? Emperor Sui, you mustn't do this. Even if you don't want to be the chief of the human tribe, there are still Chao Huang, Zi Huang, the elders, and the city lords. How can you bypass them and pass the position to me directly? Feng Zichin was shocked and refused repeatedly. Although he was very interested in the position of chief of the human tribe, his seniority in the human tribe was too low. If he suddenly took the position, the human tribe would inevitably be unconvinced. According to his previous plan, after the human tribe occupied the majority of the human tribe, he would ascend to the position of chief of the human tribe in one fell swoop. But now, Swearin obviously intended to push him to the position of chief of the human tribe despite the objections of the masses. You don't have to worry about this at all. Second brother and third sister are going to Emperor Nvuo's palace to cultivate in seclusion for a period of time. They will return to the human tribe after becoming Daluo Jinxian. At that time, the position of chief of the human tribe won't mean much to them. Moreover, it's not my idea to pass the position of chief of the human tribe to you alone. It's the idea of all 3 of us. Therefore, you don't have to worry that they will be dissatisfied with you because of this. As for the elders, at this point, Swearin paused and continued in an inexplicable tone. In terms of ability, they are far inferior to you. In terms of strength, they are also far inferior to you. In terms of contribution to the human tribe, they can't compare to you at all. So, how can they have the face to compete with you for the position of chief of the human tribe? How can such mediocre people be the chief of the human tribe? How can they lead the human tribe to prosperity? I'm afraid they can't even survive in the untainted land. As he finished speaking, Swearin's face sank, and it carried a strand of rage while his tone couldn't help but become stern. Looking at Swearin's increasingly gloomy face, Feng Zichin looked ahead silently and dared not say a word. It seemed that something unpleasant must have happened in the meeting just now. Otherwise, Emperor Sui wouldn't have been so angry. In fact, Feng Zichin knew that many of the elders of the human tribe were dissatisfied with him, especially after he drove the human tribe immortals out of the East Sea. There were even more elders who were dissatisfied with him. If Yu Chaosher and Swearin hadn't spoken up in time and taken responsibility for this matter, those angry elders of the human race would have joined hands to expel Feng Zichin from the higher echelon of the human race. After all, when he chased the human clan immortals out of the East Sea, he treated them all equally, no matter who they were, as long as they were at the Heaven Immortal stage or above. He chased them all out without giving them any consideration. Among these immortals, there were many disciples, relatives, descendants, and even their own children. Many of them died in the riot of the ferocious beasts. The death of a large number of immortals caused the strength of some elders' tribes to be greatly reduced. Coupled with the death of their relatives, how could the elders of the human tribe not hate him? They didn't dare to be dissatisfied with Swearin, so they targeted Feng Zichin, the initiator of all this. They madly vented their dissatisfaction and hated him very much. Feng Zichin could imagine the angry faces of those elders of the human tribe who were hostile to him when Emperor Sui mentioned that he would pass on the position of patriarch of the human tribe to him, and their faces flushed red when they argued with Emperor Sui. Fortunately, most of the elders of the human tribe were still wholeheartedly loyal to the human tribe. After all, only a very small number of them had selfish motives. Moreover, the city lords had more or less received favors from Feng Zichen, so they naturally stood firmly behind him. In addition, Feng Zichen's contributions to the human tribe were obvious to all. Everyone knew that they couldn't compare with him, so Emperor Sui was able to smoothly finalize this matter. Chapter 117. Of course, if Emperor Sui insisted with his prestige in the human tribe, he could settle this matter, but it would inevitably hurt the harmony of the human tribe and leave a hidden danger for Feng Zichen to govern the human tribe in the future. Zichen, go and prepare. Later, under the witness of everyone, I will pass on the position of patriarch to you, so that I can go to Emperor Nvuo's palace with peace of mind. After a while, Suerinshire calmed down and said to Feng Zichen, "Don't worry." "Yes, Emperor Sui, don't worry. I will lead the human tribe to prosperity and live up to your expectations." Feng Zichen calmed down and said firmly, "Good. I am very relieved to hand over the human tribe to you." Suerin nodded and left to gather the people. However, just as Suerin was about to step out of the hall, he suddenly stopped and said to Feng Zichen with his back to him, "You were born in the human tribe after heaven. Many elders have criticized me for passing on the position to you. For example, the Guyue clan, Jeshan clan, and Bingta clan are proud of their Xiantian status. It is inevitable that they will not accept you. If they try to sow discord between the Xiantian and Hotian human tribes after I leave, and use this to attack your prestige, you must not be soft-hearted. Remember, no matter who they are, no matter what their relationship with me is, if they dare to stir up the conflict between the Xiantian and Hotian tribes, you must not be soft-hearted. Remember, remember, remember." After saying that, Suerin continued to walk forward and out of the hall. Yes, Zichen will remember. Suerin's words were very, very light. Although Feng Zichen could not see his expression, he could tell from his tone that Emperor Sui must have made a great decision to say these words. I really don't know what Elder Guyue and the others said in the hall. They forced Emperor Sui to say these words. After Suerin walked away, Feng Zichen said to himself in confusion, what did he mean by not being soft-hearted? It meant that when it was time for him to kill, he had to kill without mercy. They were old companions who had lived and eaten together ever since they were born. They had experienced countless hardships together, and their relationship was extremely deep. Even so, Emperor Sui, who had a good temper, was forced to kill them. It could be seen that they had gone too far in the council hall. Damn it! If I had known that something big was going to happen in the conference hall, I would have participated in it no matter what. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been so clueless about the situation. For a moment, Feng Zichen couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Why did he become a tour guide for no reason? Not only did he listen to a bunch of ambiguous words, but he also delayed his own important matters. However, although Emperor Sui said so, if I really dared to kill them, the Xiantian human race might rebel. It seems that I have to think of a way to drive them out. Feng Zichen thought as he rubbed his head. 3 days later, Suerin and the other two walked into the ancestral temple with the elders of the human race and many city lords. Under the witness of the representatives of the 5 races, they held the coronation ceremony for Feng Zichen. Zichen, from today onwards, I entrust the human race to you. You are the new leader of the human race. You are responsible for the future of hundreds of millions of people. You have a great responsibility. In the future, don't be impulsive when you do things. Think more, observe more, be generous, and be impartial. Suerin gave Feng Zichen the firwood that represented the human race's inheritance to Feng Zichen. Then he told Feng Zichen about his experience in governing the human race. Yes, Zichen, I will remember everything. I will not let Emperor Sui down. Feng Zichen took note and promised Emperor Sui. Everyone, Zichen has just ascended to the throne. It is inevitable that he will make some mistakes. After I leave, I hope that you will assist him with all your heart. Find out what he has done and make up for what he has done. Together, we will prosper the human race. I'll thank you in advance. After instructing Feng Zichen, Swearin turned around and said to the crowd, We don't dare. Emperor Sui, you are too serious. This is what we should do. Even if you didn't say it, we will assist the Zichen clan with all our heart. Seeing that Swearin was about to bow to them, the crowd hurriedly bowed and said that they didn't dare. That's good. Seeing their sincere attitude, Swearin smiled with satisfaction. Well, we have been delayed for so long. It is time for us to go to Empress Wa's palace. As Swearin spoke, an auspicious cloud rose and carried the Cho clan, the Z clan, and the Golden Phoenix to Empress Wa's palace. We respectfully bid farewell to Emperor Sui, Chao Huang, and Zi Huang. Seeing the three of them leave, the crowd bowed to them. With the abdication of Swearin and the other two, the luck that represented the human race's patriarchs was drawn from them and gathered in Feng Zichen's body. Rumble. In the sky above the human race's ancestral temple, auspicious clouds suddenly appeared. Thousands of rays of light and thousands of strands of auspicious qi appeared. The laws of great Tao fell, and the order of heavenly Tao appeared. Then, in front of the crowd's astonished eyes, a ball of fire surrounded by 5-colored brilliance slowly appeared in the void. It was dazzling and had the aura of human Tao flowing around it. It was endless and everlasting. This is the manifestation of the human race's luck. At the first sight of the ball of fire, the crowd felt a burning passion in their hearts. Hot blood gushed out, and the desire to improve themselves was born. At the same time as the ball of fire flickered, images appeared in front of the crowd, showing the past of the human race and awakening the memories in the depths of their minds. A feeling of bloodline connection came, allowing the crowd to naturally understand the origin of the ball of fire. Under the contrast of the 5-colored brilliance, the ball of fire was extremely dazzling. It was like a great sun hanging high in the void, illuminating the entire world. After the ball of fire illuminated all the humans in the coast of East Sea, it suddenly descended and merged into Feng Zichen's body. Rumble. In an instant, a powerful aura shot out from Feng Zichen's body and turned into a huge whirlwind, stirring the clouds in all directions. The sky changed color, the sky shook, and the earth trembled. A terrifying aura burst out, causing everyone to be unable to breathe. This aura, this power, there's no doubt about it, it's Daluo Jingxian. But how can it be? The crowd was shocked and stared at Feng Zichen, who was in the center of the whirlwind, in disbelief. The human race's luck, supported by the luck of the 5 innate races, had long surpassed the river of destiny and had the power of Daluo Jingxian. It was just that the human race's luck was only 30%, so it couldn't really display its true power. Moreover, after all these years of development, the human race's luck had greatly increased, and the power it contained had become stronger. Now, Swearin and the other two had abdicated, and the human race's luck had been drawn out from their bodies and merged into one, pouring into Feng Zichen's body. This gave him the power to contend with Daluo Jingxian for the time being. Although his cultivation level hadn't changed, under the support of the human race's luck, Feng Zichen was no different from Daluo Jingxian in other aspects, except that he couldn't be immortal. Chapter 118. In Emperor Nvua's palace, Nua frowned and gently stroked the void when she sensed the change in the human clan's fate. In an instant, the secrets of heaven seemed to be covered by a layer of gauze, blurred and unfathomable. An invisible aura appeared and enveloped the entire coast of the East Sea, completely concealing the Daluo Jingxian's aura on Feng Zichen. Who is it? In the untainted land, a strange Daluo Jingxian's aura suddenly appeared. Although this aura disappeared in a flash, the powerful figure's spiritual senses were so sharp that they detected it the moment it appeared. It's gone. After scanning the untainted land for a moment, the powerful figures did not discover the existence of a new Daluo Jinxian. Puzzled, they began to calculate silently in their hearts. It's gone. In the eyes of the powerful figures, the secrets of heaven were normal, and the long river of destiny was quiet. There was no new Daluo Jinxian born, as if the strand of Daluo's aura just now was an illusion. Immediately, the powerful figures understood that a higher-level existence had taken action to conceal the secrets of heaven so that they could not pry into it. Knowing that the other party had a great origin, the powerful figures immediately withdrew their curiosity and regained their calmness. Only some of the top powerful figures looked at Emperor Envoi's palace with indescribable expressions. No one knew what they were thinking. With the blessing of the human clan's fate, Feng Zichen felt that his true spirit was constantly rising into the sky. As his true spirit rose, his vision also expanded, and he could see the myriad of living beings in the untainted land. Rumble! With a loud sound, his true spirit crossed layers of space and came to the sky above the long river of destiny. Standing above the void, Feng Zichen looked down at the long river of destiny. He saw spots of light, hazy, big and small, struggling desperately in the river, trying to jump out of the river. Unfortunately, their strength seemed to be too tiny when compared to the river of destiny. A single wave was enough to strike them down to the bottom of the river, and they were carried along by the river water as it flowed forward. In a trance, Feng Zichen seemed to have understood something. Those light spots were the fates of all living beings. Whether it was birds, beasts, fish, insects, grass, trees, rivers, or all living beings, as long as they did not reach Daluo Jinxian, their fates would turn into light spots and fall into the river. At the instant every living being was born, the fate of his life had already been determined by the heavenly Tao, and according to the established trajectory, he walked step by step towards his final destination. And cultivation was the beginning of changing one's destiny. As one's cultivation increased, the light that represented destiny would become brighter and stronger. It would constantly struggle in the river of destiny and change its own destiny. When he became the Daluo Jinxian, he rose from the river of fate and transcended it. Feng Zichen's gaze flashed past the fates of countless living beings and looked towards the depths of the river of destiny. He wanted to find the light spot of destiny that belonged to him in the boundless river. The Daluo's vision was so profound that he could see through all the secrets of the great thousand worlds. He could see through all the living beings, life and death, suffering and happiness, and he could see all the various forms of the world. The past, present, and future were all in the Daluo's eyes. With Big Luo's vision, how could the mist above the river block Feng Zichen's vision when he peered into the river of destiny? In the blink of an eye, he saw through the layers of mist and sorted out the countless truths of life. He found the light that belonged to him in the light of the fates of countless living beings. This light was resplendent and flowed with purple light. It was round and flawless, like a pearl, like a star. The aura of the Tao coiled around it, and a myriad of phenomena were born. When Feng Zichen's gaze touched it, rays of purple light flew out from its body and transformed into Feng Zichen's appearance, deducing his various futures. In these futures, Feng Zichen would either die tragically at the hands of ferocious beasts, be killed by demons, or become a sect master. There were good and bad things, but there was no possibility of him becoming the Daluo Jinxian. It was as if the Tai Jinxian was his end. You want to mess with my Tao heart with this? Dream on. With a cold snort, Feng Zichen suddenly waved his hand and wiped away all the futures derived from the life providence. In the primordial world, apart from connate god fiends, there was no restriction on connate and postnatal. The future of all living beings was the Tai Jinxian. This was the restriction set by the heavenly Tao on all living beings. The Daluo Jingxian was the incarnation of the great Tao. It was an existence that occupied the origin of the world. Every additional one of them would increase the burden of the world. Therefore, the heavenly Tao did not like the Daluo Jingxian. Therefore, apart from the Khanate god fiends who were the origin of the world, it was difficult for any living being to become the Daluo Jingxian. The River of Destiny was the strongest method of the heavenly Tao to prevent the Daluo Jingxian from being born. It controlled the fate of all living beings and planned the future for all living beings. Transcending the River of Destiny meant that one's fate was in their own hands and not in the hands of the heavenly Tao. In the River of Destiny, a 5-colored fire quietly appeared and enveloped Feng Zichen's life providence. It gradually disappeared. Although it was still in the River of Destiny, it could no longer be seen. It was similar to transcendence. Is this the Daluo Jingxian? It's so powerful. The moment the life providence disappeared, Feng Zichen completely transformed. Unparalleled power appeared in his body, and the laws of heaven and earth appeared clearly in front of him. The various great Das seemed to be within his reach, and the past and future appeared in his heart. He was almost omnipotent, changing the past and future. This is incredible. With this power, Feng Zichen felt that he could change the past and set the future at will. However, just as he was about to use this ability, a vast divine aura came from the depths of time and space. It scared him so much that he quickly extinguished this thought. Feng Zichen believed that if he dared to recklessly manipulate time and space, Mount Buzhou would definitely suppress him without any mercy. Sigh, born in the wilderness. I don't know if these Daluo Jingxian should be sad or happy. With a sigh, Feng Zichen left the River of Destiny and returned to his body. In the wilderness, although he had lost the ability to reverse the flow of time, he saw the possibility of taking a step forward. It was really a blessing and a curse. From the time the human race's qi entered his body to the time he returned from the River of Destiny, Feng Zichen experienced a series of things. It seemed to have taken a lot of time, but in fact it was only an instant. Everyone's consciousness was still stuck in the previous moment. It was probably because the Daluo Jingxian's concept of time had undergone a fundamental change. Although he was in the river of time and space, he was not affected by it and drifted outside of time. With a thought, he could stop time and space, and with a thought, he could change the world. Just now, under the influence of the Daluo power that Feng Zichen had erupted, everyone's time had stagnated. As a result, after he returned, everyone stood there motionless with ugly expressions. Withdraw. Seeing this, Feng Zichen hurriedly withdrew his aura. In an instant, the stagnant time resumed flowing, and everyone's expressions began to become lively. Chapter 119. Cough, 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 cough. After everyone regained consciousness, they first let out a series of violent coughs. Then they began to pant heavily, letting out heavy breathing sounds. My fellow cultivators, I'm really sorry. This happened so suddenly that it was completely out of my expectations. I didn't expect to disturb all of you. It's really Zichen's fault. Zichen apologizes to all of you here. I hope you can forgive me. Feng Zichen quickly apologized. He knew that everyone had lost their composure because of the Daluo's aura. It's okay, we're fine. Water Dragon King had the highest cultivation among all of them. He was half a step away from Daluo Jingxian. Therefore, he was the first to recover. He waved his hand and said to Feng Zichen, "Everyone, please rest assured." After a while, everyone recovered and said that they were fine. They told Feng Zichen not to worry. Phew, I'm relieved. Seeing that no one was injured, Feng Zichen heaved a sigh of relief. Obviously, those that were sent to the human race by the 5-element sacred beasts were all outstanding geniuses of their respective races. Perhaps they were unable to go against a golden immortal, but it was more than sufficient for them to protect themselves under the might of a golden immortal. After all, with their status, they would not lack connate's spiritual treasures. As for the human tribe, this was the human tribe's ancestral temple where the Nuwa was worshipped. If this aura did not come from Feng Zichen, it would not even cause a ripple. My fellow cultivator, your luck is really enviable. Water Dragon King sighed with envy when he sensed that Feng Zichen's aura was not inferior to Daluo Jinxian's. What's there to be envious of about Dragon Lord? Dragon Lord's aura is only half a step away from Daluo Jinxian. I'm afraid that the next time we meet, I'll have to call you Dragon Sovereign. Feng Zichen joked with a smile. You can't compare, you can't compare. You have the fortune of the human race. In the future, your cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. Maybe when you become a Daluo Jinxian, I'll still be struggling in Tai Jinxian. After all, to me, the difference of half a step is like a natural chasm. As for you, Daluo Jinxian is already within reach. You just lack the accumulation. Hearing Feng Zichen's teasing, Water Dragon King smiled helplessly. He was not as lucky as Feng Zichen, who had the fortune of the human race assisting him in his cultivation. Dragon Lord, you're underestimating yourself. With your accumulation and the help of His Majesty the Ancestral Dragon, becoming a Daluo Jinxian will not be difficult. Feng Zichen did not believe that a supreme existence like the Ancestral Dragon would not have some treasures that could help people become a Daluo Jinxian. I hope so. Shaking his head, Water Dragon King sighed with emotion. In the end, the fortune of the world is the most precious treasure in the Eldritch world. There is no other treasure. Dragon Lord is right. The fortune of the world is the reason why our three races ended up like this. Could it be because of the fortune of the world? How could there be so many disputes in the Eldritch world? Isn't the current war between the shamans and the demons also caused by the fortune of the world? Water Dragon King's words seemed to have evoked everyone's memories and triggered a resonance. The people of the 5 races opened their mouths one after another, detailing the disputes caused by the fortune of the world. Among the people of the Ancestral Temple, except for the people of the human race present who had less experience and shallow knowledge, the people of the Ancestral Temple were all the outstanding people of the 5 races. The others were all outstanding geniuses of the 5 clans, and all of them possessed abundant experience and knowledge. Coupled with their family's knowledge, they were naturally extremely clear about the uses of the karmic luck of the heavens and the earth. Feng Zichen also nodded, agreeing with this statement, not to mention that because he had obtained the fortune of the human race, he directly possessed strength comparable to Daluo Jinxian. The reason why Swearin and the other 2 could improve so quickly was because of the fortune of the human race in their bodies. With great fortune, one could do everything according to one's wishes. When one went out, one would encounter treasures and turn misfortune into good fortune. With the fortune of the world, one could increase one's strength, deepen one's connection with the world, and speed up one's cultivation. If the fortune of the world was thick enough, one could directly peek into the origin of the world and cultivate in the sea of the great Tao. The heavenly Tao would be open to one, and there would be no more secrets in the world. It was because of this that the saints of the later generations did not care about their pride and carried out various schemes just to obtain more fortune of the world and speed up their comprehension of the divine Tao in order to advance to a higher realm. In the untainted world, the most ancient way to become a saint was related to the fortune of the world. Countless people yearned for it. According to ancient legends, if someone could unify the untainted world, there was no need for the Hongming purple qi. With the boundless fortune, one could directly condense the sage position and become an indestructible and untainted saint. It was also because of this that the ancestor dragon, phoenix, and Chilan ancestors wanted to dominate the untainted world. They were instigated by the demon ancestor, Rahu, and triggered the calamity of the Dragon Han. Dijun also established the heavenly court because of this. He wanted to unify the untainted world, gather the boundless fortune, and become a saint. Unfortunately, this action angered the witch race and triggered the calamity of the shamans. It was only after this that the 6 great saints appeared and each occupied a part of the fortune of the world. That this path of gathering the fortune of the world and condensing the sage position was completely cut off. The fortune of the human tribe was a part of the fortune of the world. Just a very small part of it allowed Feng Zichen to have the power to rival Daluo Jingxian. How powerful was the heavenly emperor, Dijun, who was at the center of the world and possessed the fortune of the demon tribe, Zhouxing, and the boundless fortune of the untainted world. It was no wonder that when Dijun ruled the untainted world, no one except the witch race dared to compete with him. Later on, when the 6 great saints appeared, not only did they fail to suppress Dijun, but they were also overshadowed by his brilliance and became a supporting role. With such a strong fortune of the world, even if Dijun was not a saint, he should have the power of a saint. The only difference between him and a saint was that he lacked the fortune of the world, which prevented him from condensing the sage position. To be frank, mastering the fortune of the world meant mastering the origin of the world and the right to speak in the untainted world. The more fortune of the world one possessed, the stronger the origin of the world one could mobilize, and the greater the right to speak. One had to know that the origin of the untainted world was very strong. Who could stop Dijun, who could mobilize a small part of the origin of the untainted world? The fact that Dijun could still suppress the untainted world after the sages appeared was enough to prove that the sages could not do anything to Dijun. The outbreak of the Great War of the shamans and the demon tribe was due to the deep hatred between the 2 tribes, but there was no lack of instigation by the sages. To be able to make a saint do such a dirty thing, didn't it also reflect the strength of the shamans? If they could directly push over, why did they have to sow discord between the shamans and the demons in the northern land? I wonder if I can completely overshadow the glory of the sages like Dijun after I take charge of Zhouxing. Chapter 120. Feng Zichen was able to guess Dijun's strength based on his own situation. He couldn't help but feel a sense of pride rising in his heart, as if he was a real man. Fellow Taoist, you've just taken control of the human race. I'm afraid you'll be busy for a while. If that's the case, we won't disturb you any longer. We'll take our leave first. After they discussed for a while, Water Dragon King suddenly stood up and said goodbye. Seeing this, the others also stood up and planned to leave. Feng Zichen thought for a while, and also felt that if he was busy in the future, he wouldn't be able to take care of these people. Therefore, he didn't ask them to stay. Then I won't ask you to stay any longer. When you return, please send my greetings to the emperors. When I'm free, I'll definitely pay them a visit. After that, he turned to Yoyu clan, who had just returned from 7 Luminaries Prefecture, and said, Elder Yoyu clan, please send fellow Taoist Emo Zhang and fellow Taoist Jian Shan off for me. Yes, clan leader. Yoyu clan leader answered, then stepped forward and said to Emo Zhang and Jian Shan, Fellow Taoists, please follow me. Haha, you're too polite. Many people of the Beast clan are very interested in you. I wonder what kind of person you are to be praised by the Qilin ancestor and the Tiger ancestor. I'm looking forward to the moment when you come to the Beast clan's sacred land. When that time comes, the scene will be very exciting. While laughing, Emo Zhang and Jian Shan cupped their fists and left with Yoyu clan leader. After Yoyu clan leader and the others left, Feng Zichen smiled and said to Ao Shui and the other 2, Then let me send you off. I wanted to catch up with you, but I didn't expect so many things to happen. Since there's still some time, let's talk while we walk. Ao Shui and the other 2 nodded and followed Feng Zichen out. Feng Zichen had been in the untainted land for so many years, and Ao Shui was his only friend. Naturally, they were very close. Now that the two of them had been separated for so many years and had finally met each other, they were about to be separated again before they even had the chance to speak. It was inevitable that they would feel a little upset. "Fellow Taoist, please stop here." On the shore of the East Sea, the Water Dragon King was just about to leave when he suddenly stopped and said to Feng Zichin with a solemn expression, "Fellow Taoist, you've temporarily ascended to the zenith, heaven, golden, immortal realm with the providence of the human race. Although there are many benefits, this power is ultimately an external force. There are many restrictions and there are many hidden dangers. The method of using the providence of heaven and earth to raise one's strength originated from the ancient times. It was because of this that the three races obtained great benefits and were able to suppress the group of Khanate god fiends and dominate the primordial world. As such, the three races had a deep understanding of the pros and cons of the heaven and earth providence, and Water Dragon King, as the legitimate successor of the dragon race, naturally knew some secrets that ordinary people didn't know. Therefore, when he saw that Feng Zichin was using the human clan's providence to raise his cultivation, he was afraid that Feng Zichin would not be aware of the dangers involved and would be led astray. "Fellow Taoist, please enlighten me." As this matter concerned himself, Feng Zichin couldn't help but become serious. He cupped his hands to the Water Dragon King and humbly asked for advice. His understanding of the providence of heaven and earth was only from the fragmented memories of the later generations. He only knew that it was the most precious thing and that there were many benefits after obtaining it. Even saints would shamelessly snatch it. The human clan's providence comes from the human race and is closely related to the human race. In the future, if there are any fluctuations in the human race, your strength will be affected. If the human race flourishes while you are in charge of the human race, it will be fine. But if there is a decline, under the backlash of the providence, endless negative karma will descend. Not to mention that your strength as Daluo Jinxian will drop instantly. I'm afraid you won't even be able to keep your life. At that time, your true spirit will be covered in dust, and your great Tao will be severed. You won't even have a chance to start over. Hearing the Water Dragon King's frightening words, Ao Shuek couldn't help but reveal a worried expression and looked at Feng Zichin worriedly. However, Feng Zichin smiled and said nonchalantly, "Don't worry. What's there to be afraid of? As the leader of the human race, I should shoulder the responsibility and fight for the strengthening of the human race. Being connected to the human clan's providence can show my determination to strengthen the human race and make the people trust me more. It will increase the cohesion of the people. This is actually a good thing. Moreover, with this pressure, it will constantly urge me to move forward and not slack off at all." There were gains and losses. The human clan's providence could increase his strength so much, and Feng Zichin was already prepared to pay a price. Now, the human clan's providence only completely tied him to the human race. Other than that, there were not many restrictions, and this was what he had hoped for. Such a price was equivalent to nothing to him. In fact, it would bring him many benefits. When Feng Zichin said these words, a fearless spirit emerged from his body. He had the spirit of a leader of the human race, and the few elders of the human race who came with him secretly nodded their heads. "It's good that you can think this way." Inexplicably shocked, the Water Dragon King was slightly absent-minded. From Feng Zichin, he discovered his own shortcomings. No, the shortcomings of the entire dragon race. This spirit, it's really shocking. This is probably what I'm lacking. It's also where I can't compare to Swearin and the others. Since ancient times, the dragon race had been living too comfortably. They had gradually lost the will to forge ahead. An entire race was filled with a decadent aura. He was completely immersed in the glory of the ancient era. He no longer had the competitive spirit of the ancient era, fighting against the heavens and earth. Since the great calamity of Dragon Han, no new Daluo Jinxian has been born in our race. I originally thought that it was because the heavens had deliberately suppressed us, But now it seems that this is not entirely the case. Perhaps His Majesty saw this point and allowed us to take the initiative to attack the ferocious beasts. From time to time, He would praise Feng Zichen in front of everyone in order to arouse the competitiveness of the dragons. It seems that the human race is far inferior to the dragon race. But if we remove the foundation of the dragon race, the current dragon race, apart from the innate advantage of their bloodline, is no match for the human race. In his heart, the Water Dragon King compared the human race and the dragon race. Suddenly, he made a shocking discovery. The dragon race was in a state of regression, while the human race was in a state of improvement. When he first came to the human race, the strength of the entire human race was not worth mentioning in front of him. There was no need for the experts of the dragon race to make a move. He alone could wipe out the entire human race. But now, Swearin had become the Daluo Jinxian and left him far behind. The Cho clan and the Z clan had also found their own Daluo opportunities, but he had no clue about advancing. If Feng Zichen was a genius that he could not compare to, even the Yoyu clan, who lived in the East Sea for a long time, was gradually catching up to his realm. There were also several human city lords who had shown talent that was not inferior to his. Chapter 121. He was already the one who improved the fastest in the dragon race, but even so, he still could not compare to the humans. It could be seen that the dragon race was in big trouble. The spirit of fearlessness. After muttering to himself, the Water Dragon King fell into a trance, and his body emitted a mysterious aura. In the East Sea Dragon Palace, the ancestral dragon, who was taking a nap, noticed the changes in the Water Dragon King's body. He raised his eyelids slightly and looked at the shore of the East Sea. "Have you finally understood?" "It's not easy. Allow me to lend you a helping hand." He stretched out his dragon claw and pointed at the void. An invisible aura spread out, and the power of the great Tao surged out and poured into the Water Dragon King's body. As the power of the ancestral dragon entered his body, the world in the eyes of the Water Dragon King was completely different. He could see the laws of the world clearly, and his vision was infinitely expanded. He looked at the dragon race and saw a ray of light. That light was grand and carried the faith of the dragon race. But it was like the afterglow of the setting sun, emitting its last brilliance with a sense of twilight. He looked at the humans again and saw the dazzling light of humanity, filled with the belief of self-improvement. It was like the rising sun, exuding a vigorous aura, and everything was full of vitality. It was a sharp contrast to the dragon race. Yes, the path of cultivation is to press forward. Without a fearless spirit and the determination to risk everything, how can one reach the end of the great Tao? As if infected by the light of humanity, a fearless spirit emerged from the Water Dragon King's body, vowing to cut off all obstacles, sweep away all tribulations, and reach the peak of the great Tao. Ha! The Water Dragon King laughed, and the haze in his heart disappeared. The dust in his soul was cleared, and he felt as clear as a mirror. Rumble! With a rumble, the barrier that had troubled him for many years shattered. His aura suddenly soared, and a powerful force distorted the void, evolving into a vast and endless river that emitted the aura of the great Tao. No one in the world was weaker than water, and no one could defeat the strong. It was not easy. The weak defeated the strong, and the soft defeated the hard. No one in the world did not know this. Goodness is like water. Water benefits all living things and does not compete. It treats the evils of the masses and is close to the Tao. The river was a Tao, a manifestation of all of the enlightenment that Water Dragon King had gained regarding water. It was a manifestation of the Tao of water that he had condensed into a mighty river. Just a moment ago, Water Dragon King had severed all his confusion and strengthened his conviction to prove his Tao. With an indomitable determination, his Tao heart had been sublimated in an instant. He had thoroughly understood his own Tao path and understood the true essence of Daluo. At that moment, all of his comprehension, all of his accumulation, all of it erupted, turning into a huge power that pushed him to an even higher level. Thank you, fellow Taoist. I didn't expect that my Daluo opportunity would be here. After a long while, Water Dragon King came back to his senses and sighed. Congratulations, Dragon Lord. The Daluo is in sight. Just now I said that the next time we meet, I'm afraid I'll have to call you Dragon Sovereign. Look, it hasn't been that long. Didn't it come true? After Water Dragon King had completely calmed down, Feng Zichen congratulated him with a smile on his face. Water Dragon King's body was surrounded by Tao aura and the aura of the Great Tao. There was a sense of transcendence, similar to Sueren's performance in the Eternal Lamp Hall. This was clearly a precursor to proving the Daluo Jinxian. Fellow Taoist, now that my breakthrough is imminent, I need to immediately return to the Dragon Clan's sacred land to cultivate in seclusion. I won't be able to accompany you to catch up. Water Dragon King cupped his hands and said apologetically, It's fine. There will be plenty of time to catch up in the future. Right now, Dragon Lord's breakthrough is more important. Feng Zichen waved his hand and said indifferently, By the way, fellow Taoist, I'll give you a piece of advice regarding the destiny of the human race. You must not forget it. Before Water Dragon King left, he seemed to have thought of something. With a little fear, he said in a warning tone, Fellow Taoist, you can use the destiny of the human race to cultivate. This is no problem. But fellow Taoist, you must guard your heart. You must not succumb to temptation and refine the destiny of the human race into your body and turn it into your own cultivation. Once you succumb to temptation and refine the destiny of the human race, although this will directly allow you to truly step into the realm of the Daluo Jinxian, it will leave behind a huge hidden danger for your future. If one day in the future the destiny of the human race suddenly plummets, even if you are the Daluo Jinxian, you will die. Not eternal sleep, but true death. What? Isn't the Daluo immortal? How can he die? This time, Feng Zichen was really shocked and exclaimed repeatedly, It's true. I saw it with my own eyes. In ancient times, countless experts of the water race could not resist the temptation of the destiny of heaven and earth. They chose to refine the destiny of heaven and earth and stepped into the realm of the Daluo Jinxian. At this point, a look of fear appeared on the water dragon god's face, as if he had thought of something terrifying. He trembled as he spoke. He said in a trembling voice, After the war between the three races, the destiny of the dragon race plummeted, and many experts of the dragon race were madly devoured. On that day, the sky above the East Sea was dark. Endless negative karma filled the air, and the dragons wailed incessantly. The experts who relied on refining the destiny of the human race to become the Daluo Jinxian were constantly wailing. Their great Tao was constantly collapsing and merging with the origin of heaven and earth. Their bodies were dissipating and turning into streams of connate qi. Their true spirits were completely lost in the great Tao and became a part of it. In the end, there was no longer their aura in heaven and earth. Even there, Tao had disappeared. Their true spirits sank into the great Tao forever. They did not think, and there was no possibility of them appearing in the world. In this way, it was even more terrifying than falling into eternal sleep. It was truly death. Hiss! The backlash of destiny is so strong. After listening to Water Dragon King's narration, Feng Zichen felt his scalp tingle. This subverted his understanding of destiny. In this way, it was even more terrifying than death. Even Xuanqi and Ao Shui were shocked. They were born after ancient times, and they only knew a little about many ancient legends. This was the first time they had heard of such a secret. That's right. Under the backlash of destiny, no one can resist it except for the saints. Water Dragon King nodded and revealed another secret. Even His Majesty the Ancestral Dragon, who controlled almost 20% of the destiny of the primordial world, did not dare to refine it. He only used it to cultivate. From this, we can see the drawbacks of refining destiny. Back then, His Majesty the Ancestral Dragon had explicitly prohibited the clansmen of the Scaled Clan from refining the destiny of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, in the face of a shortcut, how many people could resist the temptation? One clansman after another took the risk of disobeying His Majesty's orders to refine the destiny and step into the Daluo realm. Gradually, His Majesty's orders became nothing more than empty words. Under the general trend, even His Majesty was somewhat helpless. Chapter 122. Fellow Daoist, with your talent, becoming a Daluo Jinxian won't be a difficult task. Remember, be careful when using the luck of the human race. Don't rely on it too much, lest you go astray and affect your own future. In the end, we cultivators belong to ourselves. We can't rely on external forces. On the shore of the East Sea, the Water Dragon King thought of the fate of the dragon races Daluo Jinxian and warned Feng Zichin earnestly. He was afraid that Feng Zichin wouldn't be able to resist the temptation of power and end up in such a miserable state. Thank you, Dragon Lord, for your warning. Zichin knows what's important. I won't joke about my own path. After tidying up his clothes, Feng Zichin bowed to the Water Dragon King. Such a secret was a clan's secret. The fact that the Water Dragon King could tell him meant that he didn't treat him as an outsider. Feng Zichin was very grateful. It's good that you know what you're doing. I won't say anything else. Without saying anything else, the Water Dragon King waved his hand and a mighty wave appeared. It stretched for tens of thousands of miles, as if it reached the depths of the East Sea. He waved at Ao, Shui, and Xuanqi, and the two flew uncontrollably onto the wave. Then the Water Dragon King also stepped onto the wave. Fellow Daoist, we've been delayed for so long. It's time for us to go back. When you visit the dragon race, I'll set up a banquet in the hall and await your arrival. As he spoke, the water ripples under the Water Dragon Lord's feet suddenly shrank forward. They disappeared from Feng Zichin's sight in an instant, leaving behind only 3 illusory figures. Just as Feng Zichin was about to leave, Ao Shui's voice came from afar. Zichin, 5,000 years later, it will be my coming-of-age ceremony. Remember to come to the East Sea Dragon Palace to find me. All right, 5,000 years later, I will definitely head to the East Sea Dragon Palace. After replying, Feng Zichin turned around and walked towards the human clan's ancestral temple, not caring whether Ao Shui could hear him or not. Now that the private matter was over, it was time to get down to business. As the saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean. In order to establish his prestige, he had to start the first fire. In the meeting hall of the ancestral temple, Feng Zichin sat on the main seat and said to the people below him, Elders and city lords, since the chaos of the beasts, I have not intervened in the affairs of the human race. Now that I have suddenly succeeded the throne, it is inevitable that I have some understanding of the current situation of the human race. Thus, I hope that the various elders and city masters will be able to lend me a helping hand. Give me a list of the number of immortals in each tribe and city, so that I can better control the situation of the human race and set the direction for future development. Yes, Patriarch. We will immediately send a message to our clansmen to deal with this matter and strive to send the results as soon as possible. As they spoke, immortal light bloomed in their hands and turned into various forms, beasts, weapons, birds. They carried the order and flew out. Nodding, Feng Zichin continued. Also, after so many years of reproduction, the number of people in the East Sea has increased. I plan to migrate another group of clansmen, but there are many tribes in the East Sea. It is a bit of a headache to decide which tribe to migrate. Especially after the chaos of the beasts, the clansmen are very afraid of the outside world and are unwilling to leave the East Sea. If we force them to migrate, it will inevitably make them dissatisfied and cause unrest in the clan. In this regard, I wonder if the various elders have any way to migrate some of the clansmen without hurting the harmony of the human race? Foam Zeechin originally planned to take advantage of the chaos of the beasts to train the clansmen and reignite their fighting spirit, but who knew that the chaos of the beasts was so tragic that less than 20% of the celestial immortals of the human race who went out to train survived. Now, the clansmen, who were originally full of yearning for the outside world, immediately became fearful. Although some of the clansmen did stimulate the desire to strive upward, but more of the clansmen were still fearful and planned to nest in the East Sea and continue to live their carefree lives. Foam Zeechin's plan to train the clansmen was completely declared a failure. If it was one or two tribes, Foam Zeechin could still drive them out if he was ruthless. But more than half of the clansmen were unwilling to go out. If he forced them out, he was afraid that he would lose his position as the patriarch. It was related to the future of the human race. Everyone couldn't help but discuss with a serious expression. But after a long time, they still couldn't come up with any useful ideas. Patriarch, why don't we migrate some of the clansmen to the major cities? I think, with us watching from the side, the fear of the clansmen will be reduced a lot. After a while, seeing that the discussion couldn't come to a conclusion, Eong stepped forward and proposed. Shwa, for a time, everyone's eyes were focused on Eong. The elders looked inexplicable. No one knew what they were thinking. The city lords looked unhappy. They seemed to be very dissatisfied with Eong's proposal. During the chaos of the beasts, the unbearable performance of the human race in the ancestral land was still vivid in their minds. How could the city lords let a group of trash enter the city and ruin their own culture? Eong's proposal naturally made them very dissatisfied. The city lords wanted to say something, but couldn't find a good reason to open their mouths. They could only shut their mouths resentfully and glanced at Eong fiercely with angry eyes. This is not appropriate. It's not easy for the city lords to stay outside. We really can't add more burden to them. Even Foam Zeechin didn't agree with this. The clansmen of the outside world had been tested for a long time. Each of them was brave and good at fighting. They were the only force that the human race could bring out. Moving the clansmen of the ancestral land to the outside world. Was it to drag them down? Thank you for your understanding, Patriarch. The city lords were overjoyed and quickly shouted in unison. Elders, these tribes in the ancestral land have always been under your management. So, regarding this migration, don't you have anything to say? Seeing that the elders were silent, Foam Zeechin said in a deep voice. While speaking, Foam Zeechin's body soared with a powerful aura. In an instant, the air in the hall became incomparably heavy. Everyone couldn't help but lower their heads. At this moment, Foam Zeechin's eyes flashed with a strange light. In a moment when no one noticed, it fell into Gyue's body. In a trance, Gyue involuntarily stood up and said loudly, "As the elders of the human race, we should set an example. Since our clansmen are unwilling to leave the ancestral land, then the tribes to migrate out this time will be selected from our descendants. We will set an example for our clansmen." Not giving Gyue a chance to change his mind, Foam Zeechin quickly decided on this matter. Good, this method is wonderful. Elder Gyue is worthy of being the role model of the human race. We will do as you say. In addition, since this matter was proposed by the elder, we will leave it to the elder to handle. I'm very assured with the elder handling this matter. Chapter 123. After so many years of development, the human race had gradually evolved into various classes. The tribe of the human race elders was the leader, occupying the place with the most resources on the coast of the East Sea. Next was the tribe of the connate humans, occupying the most fertile land on the coast of the East Sea. The rest of the land, which they looked down on, was the place where the postnatal humans gathered. Moreover, some of the elders, led by the Guyue clan, did not have a good impression of the postnatal humans. They thought that they occupied the living space of the connate humans and often suppressed them. The connate humans were born stronger than the postnatal humans. In addition, they occupied the best resources of the ancestral land, causing the gap between them to widen. Most of the human experts were from the connate humans. Therefore, faced with the suppression of the Guyue clan, even if Feng Zichin wanted to help, he could not fight against most of the upper echelons of the human race by himself. Now, Feng Zichin found an excuse to divide a portion of the connate humans. First, it could weaken the influence of the connate humans, and second, it could make room for the postnatal humans to develop. He could also take this opportunity to train them and let them truly grow up in the cruel, untainted land. One had to know that in order to cultivate their descendants, the elders of the human race had spent countless resources. They were the backbone of the human race. It would be a pity if they were crippled just like that. As long as 1/5 of them, as long as 1/10 of them can become talents, it will be worth it no matter how great the sacrifice is. Feng Zichin's eyes seemed to be able to see through the endless void and take in the entire human tribe. He thought to himself as he looked at the smiling connate human tribe, "This is a good idea." Several elders of the human race who were dedicated to the public thought about it and also felt that this was a good idea. They smiled and nodded in agreement. At this time, the Guyue clan came to their senses. Although they felt that this was a little inappropriate, they could not figure out what was wrong. They also felt that this was the best choice at this time. Then, they gradually lost themselves in the compliments of the crowd. "All right, everyone, you may go." After arranging all the affairs, Feng Zichin's figure flashed and disappeared from the meeting hall, appearing in the sky above Ziwei Mountain. With a deep shout, Feng Zichin gathered all the spiritual power in his body and suddenly grabbed at the void. Rumble! Connate Qi gathered madly and surged into the fortune pool of 5 elements on Ziwei Mountain. At once, 5-colored light shot up into the sky. It was incomparably bright and lit up the entire Zichin's heavenly abode. Roar! Amidst the earth-shattering roars, the images of the sacred beasts of the 5 elements rushed out from the fortune pool. An azure dragon soared into the sky. A vermilion bird spread its wings and let out a long cry. A qilin suppressed the earth. A white tiger roared at the sky, and a black tortoise covered the sea. Go! Feng Zichin's mind moved, and the chaos bead flew out from his body. It hovered in the air and flickered. Then, a white river flowed out, emitting the qi of fortune. It flowed towards the pool of fortune and merged with it. This was the fortune origin liquid that Feng Zichin had obtained from Mount Buzhou. It was formed from the essence of the earth and could create anything. 1. After fusing with the fortune origin liquid, the fortune pool of the 5 elements emitted an even brighter divine light. Its body began to tremble violently as a powerful force suddenly spread out. Then, as if the mountains were collapsing, the Ziwei Mountain shook violently. The entire Zichin's heavenly abode was shaking. Whoosh! Connate Tao light bloomed, and Tao sounds rumbled between heaven and earth. The laws of heaven and earth appeared and fell on the fortune pool of 5 elements. Rustle, rustle! Connate runes appeared one after another, dancing and intertwining in the air, gradually forming an illusory connate divine seal. Condense! Feng Zichin made a series of hand seals and activated the fate of the human race. It turned into a mighty torrent of human Tao and poured into the fortune pool of 5 elements. In the next moment, more connate runes flew out of its body and shone with the laws of heaven and earth. The illusory connate divine seal instantly became solid. At that moment, the fortune pool of 5 elements was shrouded in the divine light of creation. It was upgraded to a supreme grade, connate spiritual treasure. A powerful aura burst out, and the fortune chi swept in all directions, covering the entire Zichen's heavenly abode. Under the influence of this aura, the mountains and rivers became more beautiful, and the plants grew taller, revealing some spirituality. A large number of spiritual herbs were born, and it was full of vitality. Not bad. Feng Zichen couldn't help but be excited when the fortune pool of 5 elements was upgraded. However, his expression turned serious after a while. He clenched his right fist and punched at the fortune pool of 5 elements. Bang! In the shocking explosion, the fortune origin liquid in the fortune pool of 5 elements spurted out, turning into water droplets of various sizes. They all floated in the air, exuding the fortune chi like stars. At that moment, Daluo Jinxian's aura gushed out of Feng Zichen's body without restraint, forming a huge storm that was extremely terrifying. The void was first distorted, then shattered, and finally disappeared completely. Heaven and earth were vast, and only the fortune origin, liquid, floated there quietly. Fortune origin manipulation. Rise. Feng Zichen's expression turned serious, and the divine light of creation appeared on his body. He drew a connate Tao pattern in the air stroke by stroke, and a supreme power appeared. This was the supreme divine power, fortune origin manipulation. It was also the number 1 divine power in the heavenly 36 transformations. It was a divine power of creation, and it was the supreme Dharma power. It could manipulate heaven and earth, and it could change the laws of heaven and earth and transfer everything in the world. Back then, Goddess Nuwa had relied on this divine power of creation to create the entire human race. It was truly a supreme divine power. As the Tao seal was completed, all the connate chi in Zichen's heavenly abode surged towards it and was devoured by the Tao seal. In the end, the essence chi in the entire heavenly abode decreased by more than 10 times. Go! Feng Zichen waved his sleeve and sent the Tao seal flying towards the fortune origin, liquid floating in the air. As the Tao seal flashed, an invisible power appeared. It seemed to be able to create things out of thin air, manipulate yin and yang, and change heaven and earth. Roar! 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 The fortune origin, liquid flashed and turned into spiritual beasts of different shapes and sizes. There were birds, beasts, and scales. As soon as they were born, they roared loudly and flew towards Zichen's heavenly abode. The chaos demon god used connate evil chi and various connate chi to create the ferocious beasts. Based on this principle, Feng Zichen used the supreme divine power of fortune origin manipulation to create the spiritual beasts in front of him with the fortune origin liquid as the core and connate chi as the body. Of course, Feng Zichen's realm was far below the chaos demon gods, and his understanding of the Tao of fortune was not as good as Goddess Nuwa's. Therefore, the spiritual beasts he created only had physical forms, but no breath of life and no true spirit. They were just a bunch of marks and were far from being a race. Chapter 124. The essence of these spirit beasts was still the connate chi of creation, spiritual liquid. Their strength ranged from the connate realm to the golden immortal realm. The connate chi contained within was equivalent to the connate realm. The golden immortal realm was equivalent to the Dharma power of a golden immortal. Looking at the spirit beasts scattered around Zichen's grotto heaven, Feng Zichen's heart stirred. He opened his 5 fingers and pressed towards the void. 36 rays of light containing connate Tao patterns appeared. This was the heavenly 36 transformations. Daluo Jinxian was the embodiment of the great Tao. He had reached the pinnacle of the great Tao. With such power, Feng Zichen looked at the heavenly 36 transformations again. His previous confusion disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he had learned the divine powers that he had never learned before. Of course, the learned here referred to being able to use it. not to fully understand it and unleash its earth-shattering power. Thousands of great Daos, thousands of divine powers, in the end, all of them led to the same destination. As the saying goes, if you master one, you master all. The 36 rays of light were like flowing water. They swam in the air above Zichen's grotto heaven for a while before exploding and turning into specks of fluorescent light. They floated down like rain and merged into the spirit beasts' bodies. Roar! After absorbing the fluorescent light, the spirit beasts roared in pain. Their bodies glowed, and runes intertwined to form small divine powers. After the light faded, the spirit beasts' pain disappeared. They were all excited. Some breathed fire, some spit water, some emitted lightning, and so on. Obviously, they had gained divine powers. Haha, good. Feng Zichen caught a ferocious spirit beast and felt its strength. It already had 1/10 of the ferocious spirit beast's strength. He could not help but laugh. Go. With a wave of his sleeve, Zichen's grotto heaven opened. The spirit beast seemed to have received an order and rushed towards the entrance of the grotto heaven. Peace in the ancestral land? Waiting for death? Humph! I'd like to see how you can survive now. With a cold snort, Feng Zichen waved his sleeve and left Zichen's grotto heaven. He walked towards the ancestral temple of the humans. What's going on? What is this? It looks like a ferocious beast, but it does not have the baleful aura of a ferocious beast. Instead, it is filled with spiritual light. This thing came from Zichen's paradise. It's clan leader. What is he doing now? Would he feel uncomfortable if he didn't cause trouble for a day? You've already become the patriarch. Why don't you stop? The elders of the human clan sensed the large amount of strange auras that appeared in the human clan. While they were shocked, they walked out of their rooms and looked in the direction of Zichen's fairyland. The spirit beast was extremely fast. It didn't take long for it to reach the nearest human tribe to Zichen's grotto heaven. With a roar, it charged over. Not good. Seeing this, one of the elders was greatly alarmed. He hurriedly stretched out a giant hand and slapped towards the ferocious beast. In order to become an elder of the human race, one had to at least reach the realm of Tai Jinxian. It was a pity that the spirit beast was only at the Xian immortal realm. How could it resist the divine powers of the elders of the human clan? With just one blow, the spirit beast was smashed into pieces. It turned into Khanate Chi and dissipated, leaving behind a drop of spiritual liquid of creation shining with colorful brilliance. It's the spiritual liquid of creation. Exclaiming softly, a touch of joy appeared on the face of the elder of the human clan. Obviously, he recognized the origin of the spiritual liquid of creation. He hurriedly stretched out his hand to grab it and was about to put it into his bag. That monster was transformed from the spiritual liquid of creation. This is good stuff. Seeing this, the rest of the people were tempted. They hurriedly attacked the other spirit beasts. Freeze! At this moment, Feng Zichen's voice came. The void suddenly froze. The people felt that they could no longer move. Their connection with heaven and earth was cut off. The divine powers that they had used disappeared quietly. Is this Daluo Jinxian? He is indeed an existence that the Tai Jinxian cannot touch. At this moment, many of the elders of the human clan felt the greatness of Daluo Jinxian for the first time. A sense of powerlessness surged in their hearts. Elders, don't attack. I have great use for this spirit beast. I can't let you kill it. A ripple appeared in the void. Feng Zichen walked out from it. At the same time, the void resumed its flow. The shackles on the elders were also lifted. Spirit beast? Is this beast called a spirit beast? Why have I never heard of it? As soon as he could move, Gyue asked doubtfully, It's normal that you haven't heard of it. This is the first time this beast appeared in the untainted land. It is not a living creature, but a form of Khanate Chi. I created it to train the human clan. Feng Zichen smiled and explained. Another form of Khanate Qi? Guyuan nodded doubtfully. Suddenly he reacted and said loudly, "Train the human clan? Is this how you train the human clan? You didn't even say a word and directly sent an army of spirit beasts to attack the human clan? Aren't you afraid that our clansmen will be killed by these spirit beasts? Elder, please don't worry. You are so anxious that you are confused. This place is protected by the boundary set by the goddess. Our clansmen will not be in danger." However, as soon as he finished speaking, a scream was heard. A human was killed by a spirit beast. Seeing this scene, the elders' faces changed wildly. They pointed at Feng Zichen and were speechless. "Don't panic. This person is fine. Elders, take a look." Feng Zichen said and pointed in the direction of the corpse. A white light flashed, and the wounds on the man's body were healed. His broken body recovered, and he got up from the ground. How could it be? Seeing that the man was resurrected, the crowd did not relax. Instead, their pupils shrank, and they exclaimed in disbelief, "What about his cultivation?" The man was in the heavenly immortal realm before he died, but after he was resurrected, his cultivation fell directly to the acquired realm. Thousands of years of hard work was lost in a day. At this moment, the man suddenly showed a look of horror. Obviously, he had discovered his situation. However, before he had time to think, the spirit beast came over and killed him. After a while, he was resurrected and killed again, until one of the elders could not stand it anymore and killed the spirit beast. He was saved. However, his cultivation could not be recovered. After a while, Gyue asked Feng Zichen, "Patriarch, what is going on? What about his cultivation?" "It's like what you saw. He was killed by the spirit beast. Although he won't die, he can't keep his cultivation. If you want to continue to live forever, you have to cultivate again." Feng Zichen curled his lips and said the cruelest words in the most indifferent tone. "But this is too cruel. Thousands of years of hard work turned into flowing water in a day. How many people can bear it? This is worse than death." After hearing Feng Zichen's words, the crowd felt a chill in their hearts. Cruel? Terrible? The untainted land was crueler and more terrible than this. Chapter 125. The ancestors' land is too safe without the slightest danger. That's why they are so dispirited and have no desire to improve themselves. Aren't they unwilling to leave the ancestors' land? Then let's do as they wish and let them stay. I'd like to see if they can still be as indifferent as before now that the ancestors' land is no longer safe with the threat of the spirit beasts. After the ferocious beast riot, Feng Zichen was completely disappointed with most of the clansmen in the ancestors' land. He felt that they were hopeless. If he wanted to motivate them, he would have to use extreme means. He didn't believe that in the face of something more terrible than death, these clansmen could still maintain the idea of muddling along and waiting for death without making any changes. But the human clan elder wanted to say something, but Feng Zichen waved his hand and interrupted impatiently, "No buts! The tragedy of the ferocious beast riot is still in front of us. You elders haven't learned your lesson yet. Do you want it to happen again? Then we'll do as the patriarch says." Thinking of the past, everyone was speechless for a moment. After a while, they made up their minds and said, "It's good that the elders can understand." Seeming to realize that his tone was a little harsh, Feng Zichen eased up a little. He tried to use a gentle tone and patiently explained to everyone, "Every spirit beast here contains a drop of spiritual liquid of fortune in its body. Depending on its cultivation, the amount of spiritual liquid of fortune in it is different. The higher the cultivation, the more spiritual liquid of fortune in it. After the clansmen kill the spirit beasts, They can take the spiritual liquid of fortune in it to cleanse their muscles and marrow to improve their physique and strengthen their origin. In this way, it can not only serve to sharpen the clansmen, but also allow them to obtain opportunities. It's killing two birds with one stone. If they are unfortunately killed and lose their cultivation, they can start over. It can make up for their foundation. With the previous experience, they may be able to take a step forward. Patriarch is right. Everyone rolled their eyes and said in unison, cultivating from scratch was never a problem. The problem was the sudden loss of strength. If he couldn't adapt to this feeling, he couldn't even enter a meditative state, let alone cultivate. However, everyone only thought about it in their hearts and did not say it aloud to expose Feng Zichen. For the human race, the advantages outweighed the disadvantages. Thus, some sacrifices were acceptable. With the current situation of the human race, it will take at least 300 years to suppress this wave of spirit beasts. Glancing at the current situation of the human race, Feng Zichen made some calculations in his mind, then turned to the elders and suggested, "Let's do it." Elders, why don't you stay with me in the ancestral temple during this period of time? Let's see how many of our human children can stand out in this tide of spirit beasts. Good. Everyone nodded and followed Feng Zichen to the ancestral shrine. Come, elders, take a look. Inside the ancestral shrine, Feng Zichen waved his sleeves and a huge light screen appeared, displaying the scene of the human race in front of everyone. I haven't been in charge of the human race for a long time, so I don't know much about the current talents of the human race. Elders, please introduce them to me. Pointing at the light screen, Feng Zichen said to everyone with a smile, Patriarch, you must be joking. In front of you, who can be called a talent? An elder smiled and said, he was not flattering Feng Zichen. Everyone present had watched him grow up, so they naturally understood Feng Zichen's talent very well. It was truly rarely seen in their lives, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that it was unparalleled since ancient times. Although there aren't any talents like you, there are still a few good juniors who have a trace of your demeanor when you were young. Another elder stroked his beard and said with a smile, Well, who are they? Elders, please introduce them to me. Feng Zichen's eyes lit up and he said to everyone with interest, Taking advantage of this opportunity, I plan to select a few outstanding people and accept them as my disciples to inherit the Fiend God Orthodoxy. After all, the Fiend God Orthodoxy has been passed down in the human race for so many years, but I haven't accepted any disciples yet. It's not appropriate to show that I am the Orthodox one. Oh, Patriarch, are you going to accept disciples? Xuantingshi suddenly stood up, walked quickly to Feng Zichen, pointed at a figure on the light screen, and said, That's right. Patriarch, please take a look. This person is called Tree. He is the most outstanding member of our younger generation. Although he is far from being as outstanding as you, he can be called a rare talent. His understanding of the Tao of wood is far beyond ordinary people. He has touched a trace of the mysteries of creation and has a bright future. Patriarch, please take a look and see if this person is qualified to be your disciple. Feng Zichen looked at the light screen and saw a burly man surrounded by green light. With a wave of his hand, vines drilled out from the ground and wrapped around a spirit beast, strangling it to death. Not bad. Feng Zichen nodded and praised. When this person attacked, there was a trace of creation qi mixed in the green light. Obviously, he had awakened the creation bloodline. Moreover, he was only a little over 1,000 years old and had already reached the heavenly immortal realm. It was really rare among his peers. Patriarch, although Tree is talented, he has awakened the creation bloodline, which is not compatible with your attribute. Look at my tribe Mang. He has awakened the star bloodline and practiced the Zhouxing sword art. He is the most suitable disciple for you. Seeing Feng Zichen's satisfied expression, Feng Xiang was anxious and hurriedly pointed to the other side of the light screen and said to him, Is that Mars? Feng Zichen looked in the direction of Feng Xiang's finger and saw a young man with a star above his head. Red sword light surged around him and slashed at the spirit beast in front of him. The star was completely red, and fiery red light shot out in all directions, emitting a blazing aura. It was Mars Hua. As the young man attacked, wisps of connate fire qi hung down from Mars, increasing the power of the red sword light. This kid is not bad. He has gained the favor of Mars. If he can refine Mars in the future, it won't be difficult for him to become Daluo Jingxian. Feng Zichen's eyes showed a hint of joy. The human race has an endless supply of young geniuses. This is a sign of great prosperity. Patriarch, you must be joking. How difficult is it to refine Mars? Mang doesn't have the ability. I will be satisfied if he can step into the half-step Daluo realm. Feng Xiang shook his head and smiled bitterly. There were 365 main stars in the world. As long as one could refine one of them, the lowest achievement would be Daluo Jingxian realm. However, Zhouxing had long been occupied by the demons. It was difficult for outsiders to even get close to it, let alone refine it. Not to mention, there were also the heavenly cycle star gods who were wandering outside, spying on Zhouxing from time to time. Mang was just a postnatal human. What did he have to compete with them? Chapter 126. Elder, you don't have to belittle yourself. Who can tell what will happen in the future? Being able to gain the favor of Mars was a sign of fate. Perhaps in the future, Ray would soar to the skies and become a grand heavenly immortal. Clan leader, although my tribe has awakened the bloodline of the great earth, his talent is outstanding. He has comprehended the essence of creation from the myriad things in the great earth swamp. Do you think he can inherit your orthodoxy? Chief, the successor of the hidden mountain tribe, Wan Shan, was born with great strength. He has a deep understanding of the way of the earth. Do you think he can be your successor? Chief, what do you think of my tribe? She has also awakened the bloodline of the stars, one after another. Voices came into Feng Zichen's ears. It was very noisy, but he didn't get tired of it. Instead, he smiled and said to the crowd, Elders, don't be anxious. There's still a lot of time left. I'll look at them one by one. I won't miss anyone. With so many geniuses emerging in the human race, there were already signs of prosperity. Moreover, when the elders recommended their clansmen, except for a few people, most of them didn't care about who was first or last. They just talked about talent, which showed that they didn't have any prejudice against the human race. This was a good thing. How could Feng Zichen not be happy? Time flew. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. Which one should I choose? Looking at the light screen, Feng Zichen held his chin and fell into deep thought. 100 years was enough for him to look at all the clansmen recommended by the elders. To be honest, these clansmen were excellent enough. They could be called the best among their peers. Even in the spirit beast tide, their performance was remarkable. However, they lacked a certain aura. They didn't have the great spirit of being invincible. It was like they lacked spirit, which made them lose a lot of points in front of Feng Zichen. On the road of cultivation, 100 kegs competed with thousands of sails. Without the determination to press forward and the spirit of invincibility, how could one defeat countless competitors and set foot on the peak of the Great Tao? These clansmen might be able to become heroes of their time and reign supreme for a time. However, if they wanted to become the heroes of the era, dominate the era, and lead the tide of the era, without that great spirit, they would have no hope. Therefore, Feng Zichen was not very satisfied with them. He hesitated for a moment, not knowing if he should continue to choose one of them as his disciple. Suddenly, Feng Zichen's eyes lit up. He saw a tall and straight figure on the light screen. The figure was emitting a powerful aura that attracted everyone's attention. Elders, do you know who he is? Turning his head, Feng Zichen asked the crowd with a slightly excited expression. Who? Everyone raised their heads, but all they saw on the light screen was a blur of figures. They did not see the person that Feng Zichen had mentioned. However, the scene flashed by and switched to another place. Everyone, please take a look. Feng Zichen pointed at the light screen, and the scene on the light screen suddenly changed, showing a young man in white. The young man was not old. He was handsome and looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. He gave people a special feeling. It was as if no matter where he was the center of everyone's attention. He was outstanding and attracted everyone's attention inexplicably. Behind the young man, a Dharma form with a dragon's head and a human's body appeared. The Dharma form was suffused with Taoist rhymes, and there was a vast sun above his head that shone brightly. Hiss! The Tao of Sun. Connate Taoist phenomenon? This young man is not simple. Who is he? I didn't expect that there would be such a talent in the human race. Why haven't I heard of him before? Seeing the young man in white, the elders were surprised. Apparently they did not know him. At this moment, the young man in the light screen moved. He clenched his fist, and his whole body was glowing. An invisible force surged out. Although he was still in the Connate realm, he gave people a feeling that he was invincible. With a boom, the young man raised his fist and attacked a spirit beast in the spirit refinement realm. With just one punch, the spirit beast was blown to pieces. Elders, don't you know this young man? At this moment, Feng Zichen became more and more curious about the young man's origin. Judging from the purity of the young man's Connate chi, he should be a Connate human. Moreover, the Dharma form with a dragon's head and a human's body is Emperor Sui's Dharma form. Judging from this, he should be a descendant of the Feng clan. What? Patriarch, you can't even recognize a descendant of the Feng clan? Guyue, sure suddenly said to Feng Zichen after observing the young man for a long time. Ahem, I've been traveling all year round, so I'm not very familiar with the people of the Feng clan. I'm sorry that I've made a fool of myself, Feng Zichen explained with an awkward smile. Seeing that no one recognized the young man, Feng Xiangshi suggested, since no one can recognize him, why don't we call him over and ask him? There's no hurry. Let's wait and see. It won't be too late to call him over after the spirit beast wave ends. Feng Zichen waved his hand and stopped Feng Xiangshi, who was about to call him over. Seeing the young man's performance, Feng Zichen was not in a hurry to see him. He wanted to see how the young man would perform in the future and whether he could bring him more surprises. Boom! At this moment, the scene on the light screen changed again. A shocking, murderous aura was transmitted over. Who is this young man? What a fierce aura! The figure of a young man in black appeared on the light screen. His body was surrounded by a scarlet light, and he was fighting fiercely with a spirit beast. His moves were bold and carried a majestic aura. He was unusually fierce. In just a few moves, he tore the spirit beast into pieces, tearing a spirit beast apart. This young man is so fierce. Who is he? Why have I never heard of him? This is so strange. Where did these two young men of the human clan come from? Glancing at the black-robed young man and then at the white-robed young man, the elders were puzzled by the sudden appearance of these two human sky prides. That's the 7 kills star. In Feng Zichen's eyes, there was a dark red star shining above the young man in black's head. It was shining brightly and exuded a strong connate murderous aura. That was where the young man's murderous aura came from. No wonder he has such a strong, murderous aura at such a young age. It turns out that he is favored by the 7 kills star. The 7 kills star was an austere star. It symbolized bravery and was in charge of killing. It was the manifestation of the way of killing in the starry sky. It was also an important star in the Ziwei galaxy. Stop guessing. The bone age of these two people is less than 100 years old. Obviously, they were born 100 years ago. It's normal that we haven't heard of them. After all, we have been in the ancestral temple for more than 100 years. At that time, they should not have been born or had just been born. Seeing the doubts in the elder's eyes, Feng Zichen explained, "No wonder we've never heard of these two people before." The elders nodded as if they were suddenly enlightened. Chapter 127. 300 years later. Feng Zichen's heart stirred, and he suddenly struck a seal into the void. Instantly, the spiritual beasts that were attacking the human tribes all retreated to Zichen's grotto heaven as if they had received an order. After the spiritual beasts died, the Kani Chi that was scattered in the world began to gather again and flew into the 5 elements creation pool. Once the new creation spiritual liquid was born, the spiritual beasts could appear in the world again. After doing all this, Feng Zichen walked out and said to the crowd, "Elders, this is the end of the spiritual beast wave. It's time for us to go out and take a look." However, just as he reached the entrance of the main hall, he seemed to have thought of something and stopped abruptly. He continued to speak to the crowd. "In addition, every 100 years, there will be a small wave of spiritual beasts attacking. Every 1,000 years, there will be a large wave of spiritual beasts attacking. The small wave of spiritual beasts is specially prepared for the people who have not reached the immortal path. Therefore, when the time comes, I hope that you can restrain your subordinates and not let the immortals who have achieved the heavenly immortal path help the people to survive this disaster. As for the large wave of spiritual beasts, the scale will be the same as this one. I have prepared it for the people of the ancestral land. When the time comes, please stay in the ancestral temple." At this point, Feng Zichen's tone suddenly turned cold, and he warned the crowd, "If I find out that anyone has violated this order and attacked without permission, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yes, we understand. This matter concerned the future of the human tribe. Everyone knew the severity of the matter and would not go against Feng Zichen's order and attack without permission." Standing outside the ancestral temple, Feng Zichen looked out and saw the entire human tribe. "Not bad. It's a little better than what I expected. In this wave of spiritual beasts, many people were killed by the spiritual beasts and lost their cultivation. However, more people obtained opportunities and used the creation's spiritual liquid to cleanse their bodies and strengthen their foundations. At the end of the day, Feng Zichen's main purpose of creating spirit beasts was to give his people an opportunity, but they had to rely on their own abilities to obtain the opportunity. The strength of spirit beasts was far inferior to that of ferocious beasts. In fact, it was even inferior to the strength of most of the clansmen. As long as one focused, it would not be difficult to kill spirit beasts. As for the clansmen who were killed by the spirit beasts, as long as they weren't unlucky enough to be attacked by a spirit beast whose cultivation base far exceeded theirs, or were besieged by a large group of spirit beasts, they could only be said to be useless and hopeless. Feng Zichen wasn't going to care about them anymore. He was going to let them fend for themselves. The only one who could save them was himself. "Feng Hen, go to the Feng clan and bring these 2 people to me." After a while, Feng Zichen thought of the 2 young men of the human clan. He transmitted his voice to Feng Hen in the distance. 200 years had passed, and Feng Zichen naturally knew the origins of the 2 youths. They were both from the Feng family. Feng Hen, on the other hand, was the current leader of the Feng family. Naturally, the images of the 2 youths appeared in front of Feng Hen. Feng Hen, who was about to refine the spiritual creation liquid, suddenly saw the 2 figures in front of him. His expression changed drastically. Then he heard Feng Zichen's voice. He heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, "Yes, clan leader, I'll do it right away." With that, he didn't have time to refine the spiritual creation liquid and immediately headed to the Feng clan to fetch the 2 youths. Jieyuxiong? What an amazing name! Feng Zichen muttered to himself as he returned to the ancestral temple to wait for the two youths. Clan leader, I've brought them here. 3 days later, Feng Hen brought 2 men and a woman to the ancestral temple. He looked troubled as he shouted into the temple, "Come in together!" Feng Zichen laughed in his heart as he casually opened the temple door. "Clan leader, it's not my fault, it's—" Feng Hen pointed at the young girl beside him as if he wanted to explain something to Feng Zichen. "All right, I already know about this. It's not your fault." Feng Zichen waved his hand and interrupted him. "You may leave first." "Yes, clan leader." Seeing that Feng Zichen didn't blame him for bringing an extra person, Feng Hen's troubled expression disappeared. He bowed again and left. "What are your names?" Feng Zichen asked the 3 youths after Feng Hen had left. "Jie of the Feng clan greets the clan leader." The youth in white bowed and said, "Xiong Hui of the Jiang clan greets the clan leader." The youth in black and the uninvited girl were siblings. After Feng Jie, they also bowed to Feng Zichen. Heroes of the ages, heroes of all ages? After seeing the 2 of them with his own eyes, Feng Zichen seemed to see 2 rays of light from them that illuminated the past and the present, eternally immortal. In a trance, 2 earth-shattering figures appeared before Feng Zichen. One of them seemed to be the center of the heavens, and the world revolved around him. Wherever he went, that place would be the focus. He was dazzling and emitted endless light that covered all other light in the world. One of them was peerlessly domineering, and his heroic spirit soared to the heavens. The image of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared under his feet, and a murderous aura overflowed from his body as if he wanted to kill everything. On their bodies, the fate of humanity gathered and the power of will flowed. The prayers of tens of thousands of people resounded, as well as countless calls, forming 2 grand voices, "Heroes! Heroes!" After a long while, Feng Zichen came back to his senses. When he looked at the 2 of them again, all the strange phenomena had disappeared, as if everything was an illusion. Of course, this was not an illusion. This was a hint from the fate of humanity, telling him that these 2 were the children of fate born from the fate of the human race, and they bore the mission of bringing prosperity to the human race. So this is the origin of heroes and heroes. In order to commemorate them, the later generations called the outstanding people of our race heroes and heroes. At this moment, Feng Zichen understood some things. Heroes and heroes were originally 2 ordinary words. But because of the existence of these 2 people in front of him, they were given extraordinary meanings and became extraordinary. They were no longer ordinary and would affect the future generations for countless years. Is this history? And so on and so forth. In the future, behind each and every word that represented a special meaning, there was probably a great power hidden behind each word. What about that little girl? Why does she give me a special feeling? Retracting his gaze from Jiang Xiong and Feng Jie, Feng Zichen looked at Jiang Hui. No matter why she appeared here, since she was here, it meant that she was fated to be with Feng Zichen. However, Feng Zichen did not find anything special about her. With the sun and moon appearing in his eyes, Feng Zichen used the sun-moon divine gaze and looked at Jiang Hui. There is indeed a problem. Under the gaze of the sun-moon divine gaze, Feng Zichen found that Jiang Hui was shrouded in a layer of fog, completely concealing her secrets. Chapter 128. Open. In a split second, time and space froze as 2 godly rays shot out from Feng Zichen's eyes, shattering the mist that shrouded Jiang Hui. An indescribable radiance emerged. It was extremely dazzling, as if there were thousands of colors flowing around. It was the light of wisdom. It could enlighten all living beings, enlighten all living beings, enlighten all living beings, enlighten all doubts, and explain the truth of heaven and earth. The light of wisdom. After seeing the truth behind the mist, a bigger question appeared in Feng Zichen's mind. Jiang Hui is just an ordinary human. How can she have the light of wisdom? The light of wisdom was a product of the Tao of wisdom. It contained the mysteries of wisdom. It was as mysterious as the Tao of destiny. It was controlled by the heavenly Tao and was forbidden from prying into it. I'd like to see who you are. Curious about Jiang Hui's background, Feng Zichen took a deep look at her. Dazzling purple light shot out from his body, forming a river of stars. Then the sun, moon, and stars were born. Zhouxing was manifested. A purple star rose slowly. It suppressed the endless space and ruled over Zhouxing. It was the ruler of the stars. Ziwei star, turn. The innate Tao language sounded, and under the lead of Ziwei star, Zhouxing started to turn according to an unknown trajectory. A huge power came, following the light of wisdom on Jiang Hui. It chased after the past, trying to see through the secrets of the past. Is that an innate spiritual treasure? Strange and bizarre images flashed in front of Feng Zichen's eyes, and in the end, he saw a gem shining with the light of wisdom being bombarded by the destructive lightning. The power of the heavenly Tao. Looking at the destructive lightning, Feng Zichen felt a chill down his spine. Without thinking, he knew that this was the power of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was destroying an innate spiritual treasure. How unbelievable was that? Amidst the rumbling of thunder, the wisdom gem shattered, and an innate, inextinguishable spiritual light, surrounded by chaotic, baleful aura, appeared. More than half of its body had already turned pitch black. Clearly, this innate spiritual treasure derived from the Tao of wisdom had been corrupted by the chaos demon god. Judging from the heavenly Tao's hatred for the chaos demon god, it would not allow such a thing to exist. In just a short moment, the connate, indestructible spirit light that had been corroded by the chaotic, baleful qi was shattered and obliterated by the heavenly Tao. It could not be said that it was completely obliterated. A small part of the innate, indestructible divine light that had not been eroded was unexpectedly preserved. After wandering in the untainted land for countless years, it somehow fell into the body of a woman of the human tribe and gave birth to 2 divine fetuses. This was the origin of Jiang Xiong and Jiang Hui. Jiang Xiong was the inextinguishable, innate, inextinguishable by the Tao. Jiang Hui was formed from the wisdom Tao of the innate, indestructible divine light. Thus, she was extremely intelligent and was naturally close to the Tao. Jiang was the heavenly Tao, was the heavenly spiritual innate. Is the heavens. He's time and the time. We're the time. We're the time and time, and we're time and time and time, and we're time. Are you all willing to acknowledge me as your master? After staring at the 3 for a while, Feng Zichen said slowly under their anxious gazes, Disciples Feng Jie, Jiang Xiong, and Jiang Hui pay our respects to master. Overjoyed, they hurriedly bowed. Feng Zichen was a legend in the human tribe. It was the dream of many humans to be his disciple. The 3 of them were pleasantly surprised, but they also found it hard to believe. How could they refuse to accept him? Very good, get up. There are not many rules in my sect. You don't need to be too restrained. As he spoke, a gentle force came and lifted the 3 of them up from the ground. As my disciples, you should take it as your duty to make the human tribe prosper. You can't deceive your master, destroy your ancestors, kill your fellow disciples, humiliate your fellow disciples, or kill your fellow disciples. Anyone who disobeys will be severely punished. Do you understand? After the 3 of them got up, Feng Zichen said solemnly, Yes, master. We will bear it in mind and dare not disobey you. They said in unison. It's good that you understand. Feng Zichen nodded and waved his sleeves. 3 balls of light appeared in the air. Each of them was wrapped in a spiritual treasure. There was a mirror, a sword, and a hairpin. Feng Jie, I'll give you this bright sun, divine mirror. It's for your protection. Feng Zichen pointed at one of the balls of light. A golden mirror flew out, exuding pure qi of the sun. It was engraved with dragon patterns and fell into Feng Jie's hand. This mirror was formed by the ancestral dragon's reverse scale and the sun spirit. Although it's only a lower grade innate spiritual treasure now, it has unlimited potential. If you can find a yang divine item in the future, you can integrate it into the bright sun divine mirror to upgrade the grade of this mirror. Feng Zichen continued when he saw Feng Jie take the bright sun divine mirror. Thank you, Master. At this time, Feng Jie recovered from the pleasant surprise and hurriedly thanked Feng Zichen. Jiang Xiong, I'll give you this 7-kill sword. I hope you can make good use of it. Feng Zichen waved his hand and turned to Jiang Xiong. As soon as he finished speaking, the temperature in the hall dropped a few degrees. A reddish-gold long sword appeared slowly, exuding a strong, innate murderous qi. As the cold light flickered, it was surrounded by innate metal qi, making it even sharper. This sword was made from the claws of the white tiger and integrated with the 7-kill star. It's a killing weapon. You should make good use of it. Like the bright sun divine mirror, it's also a lower grade innate spiritual treasure. If you find a metal elemental item in the future or obtain the origin of the 7-kill star, you can upgrade the grade of this treasure. Thank you, Master. I promise that this sword will never be stained with human blood. Jiang Xiong took the 7-kill sword carefully and promised Feng Zichen. What a strong murderous spirit. I'll have to enlighten him in the future. He wouldn't attack the human race, which meant that he wouldn't have any qualms about using this sword against anyone other than the human race. Jiang Hui, this is the 5 Virtues Divine Phoenix Hairpin. Take it and use it to protect yourself. Feng Zichen put Jiang Xiong's matter aside and said to Jiang Hui, this treasure was made from the tail feathers of the phoenix ancestor. It can open up yin and yang, define the 5 elements, and operate the 5 virtues. In the future, if you can find a corresponding innate spiritual item, you can upgrade the grade of this treasure. Not long after the phoenix ancestor gave Feng Zichen her plucked tail feathers, the other 5 elemental sacred beasts sent their origin objects over one after another. This was the reason why he gave his disciple a present. Otherwise, Feng Zichen wouldn't have been able to find 3 innate spiritual treasures, even if they were lower grade. Thank you, Master. Jiang Hui took the 5 Virtues Divine Phoenix Hairpin and smiled sweetly. Chapter 129. Essence is expressed in qi. Yin, yang, and the 5 elements are the same. Condensation is the gathering of qi, and qi is the master. The 5 elements of yin, yang, and qi are intricate, and each of them condenses to form. Yang becomes a man, and this is the Tao of the father. Yin becomes a woman, and this is the Tao of the mother. It is the beginning of a person born from qi. When qi gathers to form, it intersects with qi, and then it transforms into all things with endless changes. This was the 3 Enclosures Sutra. It was divided into 3 volumes: the Grand Mystic Pivot Sutra, the Crepe Myrtle Cave Sutra, and the Grand Mystic Mahayana Sutra. It was a Taoist sutra of connate existence, inscribed in Joshing. It was the supreme Taoist sutra that Feng Zichen had obtained on the North Star. After bestowing the connate spiritual treasure, Feng Zichen felt that their cultivation methods were too simple and crude. After some thought, he imparted this top Taoist sutra of the Great Wilderness, the 3 Enclosures Sutra, to the 3 of them. There was no specific cultivation method in this sutra. It simply described the great Tao of heaven and earth and the mysteries of the universe. However, it was all-encompassing. No matter what great Tao it was, one could find a thing or two from it. This was a cultivation method that led directly to the great Tao. Anyone could gain different understandings from it. Even saints would benefit from it after fully comprehending it. This sutra is obscure and difficult to understand. It's normal that you can't understand it. It's not just you. Even I don't know much about it. Therefore, you don't have to delve too deeply into it. When you have nothing to do, just take it out and recite it once. When it's time to comprehend it, you will comprehend it. After imparting the 3 enclosures sutra to the 3 of them, Feng Zichin comforted them when he saw that they were frowning. It was obvious that they couldn't understand it at all. Yes, master. The 3 of them breathed a sigh of relief. They had thought that they were too stupid to understand the sutra that Feng Zichin had imparted to them. From now on, you will cultivate on the Crepe Myrtle Mountain and strive to achieve immortality as soon as possible. Feng Zichin suddenly said after frowning at the 3 of them. Spirit refinement realm cultivation was a little low. After all, the celestial demon orthodoxy had been passed down for so many years that there was no lack of golden immortals. As Feng Zichin's disciples, they were meant to take charge of the orthodoxy in his stead. How could a mere God refinement realm cultivator face a group of arcane immortals and golden immortals? Master, what about the spirit beasts in Zichin's paradise? Can we attack them? At this moment, Jiang Xiong's eyes suddenly lit up. He was thinking about attacking the spirit beasts. You want the spiritual liquid of creation, right? It's fine. You can do whatever you want with the spirit beasts in Zichin's paradise. Feng Zichin waved his hand and said nonchalantly, Moreover, if you have the ability to ascend to the peak of Ziwei Mountain, you can also use the creation spirit liquid in the 5 elements creation pool. The purpose of the spirit beast's existence was to train the human race. Not to mention them, even if any human wanted to enter Zichin's paradise to hunt spirit beasts, Feng Zichin would allow them to do so. Understood. Jiang Xiong and the other 2 were excited. Obviously, they had experienced the benefits of the creation spirit liquid. Seeing how happy they were, Feng Zichin could not help but pour cold water on them. However, if you are accidentally killed by the spirit beasts and lose your cultivation, don't come crying to me. Otherwise, not only will you not be comforted by me, but you will also be punished more severely. Do you understand? Don't worry, master. This will never happen. Feng Jie smiled and said with his head held high, How can the spirit beasts kill us? When Feng Jie said this, a powerful aura surged out from his body. It shook the hearts of people, causing them to involuntarily feel a sense of awe. This was because Feng Jie was too powerful in the future. His aura distorted the endless space and time, affecting the present from the future. Very good. I look forward to your performance. Feng Zichin nodded and expressed his approval of Feng Jie. Unlike Jiang Xiong and Jiang Hui, who were reincarnated as innate spiritual treasures, Feng Jie was a god's favored son who was truly born with the fortune of the human race. He was the last innate human to be born. His birth marked the end of the Holy Mother's legacy. Since then, the new innate humans born in the human race were all transformed from later on. No one was born as an innate human. He had gathered all the fortune of the innate human race. He was the last glory of the innate human race. Because of this, Feng Jie, as a human, could be compared to Jiang Xiong, who was reincarnated as an innate spiritual treasure. All right, this matter is over. You can go back and cultivate. Feng Zichin waved his hand and sent the 3 to Ziwei Mountain. Born to be a man, a clean and indomitable spirit. A man of indomitable spirit. How can everything in the world go according to one's wishes? Just have a clear conscience. I'll give you these words. I hope you will remember them and use them to encourage yourselves. When the 3 of them landed, Feng Zichin's voice drifted over from afar. On Kunlun Mountain, Taoist Tai Ching, who was comprehending the great Tao and searching for the opportunity to become a saint, suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of annoyance and woke up from his Tao comprehension. Oh, is the poor Wei's heart in a mess? Opening his eyes, Taoist Tai Ching's eyes flashed with confusion at first. Then he regained his clarity. He had not found the opportunity to become a saint for a long time. Even with his state of mind, he could not help but feel a little confused. However, an existence like Taoist Tai Ching had a firm Tao heart. In an instant, he severed that confusion and returned to his indifferent state. Sigh. So many years have passed. Why hasn't the poor Wei sensed the opportunity to become a saint? Sighing, Taoist Tai Ching knew that it was useless to continue cultivating in seclusion. He got up and walked out of the quiet room, left Kunlun Mountain, and traveled through the primordial world. Taoist Tai Ching began to wander aimlessly in the primordial world. He moved according to his heart, and wherever he went, he would go. If he was in a good mood, he would stop at a certain place and either preach the great Tao to the living beings there, bestow 1 or 2 pills, or leave behind Tao scriptures and mystical abilities. He was very carefree. Gradually, the depression in Taoist Tai Ching's heart reduced by a lot. His state of mind actually improved slightly, causing a trace of joy to rise in his heart. Boo-hoo! On this day, Taoist Tai Ching was traveling when he suddenly heard a cry. The cry was extremely ordinary and did not have the slightest fluctuation of Dharma powers. However, it inexplicably attracted his attention. Is it really interesting? Curious about the origin of the cry, Taoist Tai Ching could not help but walk in the direction of the cry. Grandpa, don't sleep. Wake up and open your eyes to look at me. Not long after, Taoist Tai Ching saw a human child hugging a corpse and sobbing nonstop. The cry that he heard along the way came from that. Human. This was Taoist Tai Ching's first time coming into close contact with a human. Oh, his organs are dried up, his body is weak, and his life source is exhausted. Taoist Tai Ching was shocked when he looked at the corpse. Chapter 130. It's really unbelievable. This human actually died because his lifespan ran out. Taoist Tai Ching was extremely experienced and knowledgeable since his debut. However, even so, it was his first time seeing someone die because his lifespan ran out. Child, don't cry. Look, isn't your grandfather fine? Taoist Tai Ching walked forward and said to the child. Sure enough, as soon as he said that, the human elder who had been dead for a long time regained his vitality and opened his eyes to get up from the ground. At Taoist Tai Ching's realm, he could make all living things wither and revive with just a thought. Life and death were just between a thought, and reviving the dead was just a thought. Thank you for saving my life, old immortal. After the elder was revived, he was first confused for a moment. Then he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly thanked Taoist Tai Ching. However, he was nowhere to be seen and had already left for a long time. This human is interesting. Perhaps the poor Wei should go and take a look. Taoist Tai Ching made a decision in midair and rushed towards the human tribe closest to him. The human tribe closest to this place was called Changjiu and had a population of hundreds of thousands. It was not a tribe that had migrated out of the ancestral land, but was founded by the human clansmen outside. During the chaos of the ferocious beasts, Emperor Sui had ordered that all human immortals had to go out and kill a ferocious beast of the same realm before returning to the tribe. If they could not do it, they could not return to the ancestral land. Some of the clansmen were used to living a peaceful life and did not dare to fight with the ferocious beasts. Hence, they found a place to hide and survived the chaos of the ferocious beasts. Among these clansmen, some were unlucky and were found by the ferocious beasts and died tragically. Some were lucky and successfully survived the chaos of the ferocious beasts. They knew that even if they returned to the tribe, the clansmen would not accept them again. Hence, They settled down in the place where they hid and lived their own lives. That was how the name Changju came about. With Taoist Tai Ching speed, even if he deliberately slowed down, he arrived here in less than 10 minutes. In the next moment, the scene in the tribe appeared in Taoist Tai Ching's eyes, causing him to frown in displeasure. Within the tribe, everyone's behavior was incomparably barbaric. Other than a few people, most of them had tattoos all over their bodies. It was normal for the strong to bully the weak, and bullying the young with age was the norm. The old, weak, sick, and disabled would fall to the side of the road without anyone looking after them, leaving them to fend for themselves. There were even some who did it out in the open without any misgivings. If it weren't for the fact that the people here knew how to start a fire and eat cooked meat, breaking away from the state of eating raw meat and drinking blood, they would be no different from the human race in the barbaric era. Speaking of which, the few people who founded the long-term tribe were all people who were just eating and waiting to die. How could they know how to manage a tribe? In the ancestral land, other than learning how to make fire, they didn't know much about etiquette, justice, integrity, or the management system. Moreover, even if they knew about this, with their lazy temperament, they wouldn't have the time to tell the tribesmen. Therefore, after establishing the tribe for less than 100 years, they began to enjoy themselves, leaving the tribe to fend for itself and not caring at all. As a result, the tribe's civilization would naturally regress, and it wouldn't be long before this tribe degenerated into the barbaric era. After frowning for a long time, Taoist Tai Ching flicked his sleeves and left for the next human gathering place. The rootless tribe was also created by the tribesmen who escaped the chaos of the ferocious beasts in the past. However, unlike the founders of the long-term tribe, the founders of the rootless tribe had always been thinking about the ancestral land of the human race and wanted to return at all times. Therefore, they were exceptionally attentive to the tribe and worked hard for it all the time, intending to develop the rootless tribe in an attempt to return to the ancestral land through this method. After their vigorous development, the civilization of the rootless tribe was clearly superior to the civilization of the long-term tribe. The tribesmen here already had a sense of shame and were all covered in clothes. They no longer acted preposterously or bullied the weak. There's such a huge difference between the two sides of the human race. Looking at the situation of the rootless tribe, Taoist Tai Ching revealed a thoughtful gaze and continued to walk to the next tribe. Because it was close to the Elephant Mountain tribe, the tribal civilization of the Yue tribe was a step closer and had a preliminary concept of hierarchy. The Elephant Mountain tribe was a tribe that moved out of the ancestral land of the human race in the past. The civilization here was undoubtedly a level higher and already had a hierarchy. Walking through one tribe after another, Taoist Tai Ching witnessed the evolution of civilization from low to high, the process of going from disorder to order. All sorts of thoughts appeared in his mind, but he could not grasp them and could not help but feel extremely depressed. The Shoyang tribe was one of the 3 major tribes under Yi City and was also a top tribe of the human race. It had the highest civilization of the human race. Arriving here, Taoist Tai Ching saw that the old had people to rely on, the young had people to take care of, marriage and funerals. Everyone had their own duties, and it was a scene of prosperity. Here, Taoist Tai Ching saw the beauty of etiquette and the light of civilization. Haha, the poor way has been enlightened. My Tao has been completed. In a trance, he seemed to have grasped something, and the depression in his heart disappeared. Emptiness, vast Tao runes emanated from his body and spread in all directions. A shocking aura burst out and shook the primordial world. Boundless purple qi appeared and covered the sky. Along the way, Taoist Tai Ching had accumulated too many insights. Finally, they completely erupted here at the Shoyang tribe and turned into a bright light of civilization, illuminating the path ahead for him and finding the opportunity to become a sage. At this moment, in the territory of the Shoyang Mountain, where the new Yi City of the human race was located, Eong, who was cultivating in the city lord's mansion, suddenly felt his heart clench. An indescribable feeling suddenly surged in his heart, forcing him to look up. Hiss! That's. Yi Ang's mouth was wide open as he looked into the distance with a look of disbelief. He was so shocked that he could not speak. In front of him, endless phenomena filled the air. There were Ganoderma, tree nine splendors, Qilins dancing, phoenix singing, and purple chi coming from the east that dyed the entire sky purple. It was extremely noble. This is the phenomenon of a sage's journey. After a long while, Yang said excitedly, "Guards, hurry up and open the city gates. Follow me out to welcome the sage." Yi Ong stood up abruptly and ran outside while yelling, "Wait, the arrival of a sage is such a big matter. I have to inform the clan leader." With that thought, Yang took out the great Tao Divine painting and used its connection with the chaos bead to inform Feng Zichen of this matter. "Sage, are the sages of the primordial world about to appear?" After receiving the news from Eong, coupled with the aura that shook the primordial world not long ago, Feng Zichen understood what was going on. Taoist Tai Ching is about to become a sage. Chapter 131. After pondering for a moment, Feng Zichen's figure suddenly disappeared as he rushed towards the city. Taoist Tai Ching becoming a sage in the human race was a huge matter that concerned the destiny of the human race. As the leader of the human race, he had to be present no matter what. Otherwise, it would be inappropriate if he did not even show his face when the destiny of the human race was in turmoil. Humph. In the void, Feng Zichen suddenly felt that the space was abnormally heavy. Following that, a huge force attacked, and he could not help but groan as he fell out of the void. So powerful! Taoist Tai Ching is so powerful! After releasing his spiritual force, Feng Zichen immediately understood what had happened. With the Shoyang tribe as the center, the void within a 500,000-kilometer radius was enveloped by the powerful aura emitted by Taoist Tai Ching, sealing everything. Since the spatial divine ability failed, Feng Zichen immediately used the star escape technique and turned into a purple light that flew towards the Shoyang tribe. The Tao that can be said is not the Tao. The name that can be named is not the name. Nothingness is the beginning of heaven and earth. Being is the mother of all things. Therefore, nothingness is often used to observe its wonders. Being is often used to observe its mysteries. These two come from the same place but have different names. They are both called mysteries, mysteries within mysteries, and the door of all mysteries. Heaven and earth are heartless and treat all things as straw dogs. Saints are heartless and treat the people as straw dogs. The god of grains is not dead and is called Xianping. The gate of Xianping is called the root of heaven and earth. If it exists, I won't use it frequently. When Feng Zichen arrived at the Shoyang tribe, Taoist Tai Ching had already begun preaching to everyone. It was a moral chapter that contained the power of education. It explained the truth of nature and the world, improving everyone's virtue and conduct. It did not record any cultivation method, but it was more honorable than any cultivation method because it could inspire the wisdom of all living beings. To cultivators, it could explain the truth of heaven and earth in the most common language and point to the core of the great Tao. To mortals, it could explain the principles of dealing with people through things and point to the depths of their hearts. As the saying went, Tao was born, virtue was born of animals, objects were formed, and tools were formed. Therefore, all things respected Tao and valued virtue. Tao is the most honorable. Virtue is the most precious. Fu Mo's life is the most natural. Morality was related to a person's life and was especially important. 300 years later, Taoist Tai Ching stopped preaching, and everyone who was immersed in the great Tao heavenly melody also woke up. Although their cultivation levels did not increase, the light of wisdom and the light of virtue shone behind their heads, causing their connection with the world to deepen and their comprehension of the Tao to take a step closer. Their future achievements would be even greater. Even Feng Zichen obtained many benefits after listening to Taoist Tai Ching's preaching. After everyone woke up, Taoist Tai Ching took out the 8 trigrams cauldron and waved his sleeve. Several types of connate spirit herbs flew out and entered the cauldron to refine pills. The connate spiritual medicine was condensed from the essence of heaven and earth. Under the burning of the divine yin fire, it gradually melted into strands of connate qi. This was called refining essence into qi. At this time, the 6 yin divine flame became even more vigorous. The innate energy gradually gathered into a sphere, forming a golden pill. Yuan Tuachuo, golden and dazzling, released great radiance. The golden pellet had 9 apertures and was surrounded by Tao patterns. It flickered with spiritual radiance and was abnormally agile. Gradually, the image of a god appeared and sat cross-legged inside the golden pellet. It continuously breathed in the qi of heaven and earth through the 9 apertures. This was called refining qi into spirit. As a large amount of connate qi was absorbed by the god, his figure gradually condensed and then turned illusory. During the transformation, it seemed to have merged with the void. It was vast and boundless, transforming into an illusory body that was connected to the omnipresent great Tao and manifested billions of incarnations. This was called refining the spirit into the void. A bit of connate qi was born between the god's brows. It existed before heaven and earth and came from the void. It was connected to the Tao and created all things in the universe. An immortal Tao light rose. The aura of the great Tao spread, and endless runes were born. The connate qi became stronger and stronger. The god seemed to have become the incarnation of the great Tao, sacred and mighty. This was called refining the Tao into the void. The 8 trigrams cauldron was the human body, and the connate spiritual medicine was the body's own great medicine with endless essence. Taoist Tai Ching used the method of refining the 9 revolutions golden pill to open up a new cultivation path for all living beings. With yin and yang as firewood and heaven and earth as fire, he gathered his own great medicine and refined a round golden pellet. The golden pellet gave birth to a connate yang spirit that evolved into connate qi and merged with the great Tao of heaven and earth. The moment the pellet was formed, the heavenly Tao suddenly sensed it and merit descended. 50% entered Taoist Tai Ching's body, 40% entered the 9 orifices golden pill, and 10% turned into light rain that fell into the bodies of everyone present. The 9 orifices golden pill obtained merit and became more extraordinary. Endless Tao was born and gave birth to all kinds of changes, causing the Tao of heaven and earth to fall and the laws of nature to rumble. It emitted an immortal and inextinguishable aura and was extremely magical. It was the essence of heaven and earth, the origin of the golden core lineage, and also its highest achievement. It was the Daluo Tao fruit. The 9 orifices golden pill had great luck and merit. There was only one of it in heaven and earth. Anyone who could refine it would immediately become the Daluo Jinxian. Slash! Taoist Tai Ching suddenly shouted. Heavens will appeared and turned into a Tao slashing saber that slashed towards him. Purple light appeared and an illusory figure walked out of Taoist Tai Ching's body. It gradually solidified and turned into an old Taoist in a bagua robe. Grand Elder of the Poor Way, greetings to me. The Taoist appeared and bowed to Taoist Tai Ching as he said. However, Taoist Tai Ching used the merit of Tao creation to sever his obsession. With that, the 3 corpses were severed and the quasi-sage realm was completely perfected. At the same time, he was also the first existence to completely sever the 3 corpses after Tao ancestor Hongjun. Ha! You and I are one. Fellow Taoist, you don't have to be so polite. Taoist Tai Ching looked at Taoist Tai Ching and laughed out loud. After the three corpses were severed, Taoist Tai Ching felt his true spirit suddenly become clear. His body relaxed, and a great sense of joy rose in his heart. In front of his eyes, the great Tao was unprecedentedly clear and close, as if it was within reach. At this moment, the primordial violet energy that hadn't moved since he obtained it had actually started to tremble on its own. The trembling conformed to the rhythm of the heavens and the earth, and it was like the Heaven Tao was speaking in a low voice about all the principles of the heavens and the earth. The Poor Way is the father of Taoist Tai Ching of Pangu. Today, I feel that it is not easy for the living beings of the primordial world to cultivate the Tao. Their future is boundless. They do not know etiquette, do not know the heavenly Tao, and do not know the great Tao. I specially established Rin School to educate all living beings and make them gain intelligence so that they can understand the Tao and do moral things. With the Khanate cardinal treasure Taiji painting to suppress destiny and the heavenly Tao as proof, Rin School will be established. As soon as Taoist Tai Ching said that, the 3 flowers above his head and the 5 qi in his chest appeared on their own. A purple light soared into the sky. Golden flowers fell from the sky and golden lotuses appeared on the ground. The Khanate Taiji painting hung above his head. Yin and Yang qi intertwined with each other, and the qi of morality appeared, enveloping a radius of tens of millions of kilometers. Chapter 132. There was a loud bang in the void as fragrance filled the air. Boundless Xianhuang merit qi appeared and surged into Taoist Tai Ching's body, intertwining with the Hongmeng purple qi. Suddenly, a dazzling purple light erupted from his body and dyed the world purple. It was extremely gentle like flowing water and emitted an extremely noble aura. That was the merit of creation. Under the influence of the merit of education, the merit of creation also moved and merged into Taoist Tai Ching's true spirit. The truth of Yin and Yang appeared and the qi of Tao was born. After a while, the Hongmeng purple qi and Xianhuang merit qi were all absorbed by Taoist Tai Ching. He seemed to have merged with all things in the world and emitted a mysterious heavenly Tao aura. A supreme pressure that was far stronger than when Nuwa became a saint erupted from his body and spread throughout the entire primordial world. When Nuwa became a saint, she only severed 1 corpse, but Taoist Tai Ching severed 3. Even though the merit of teaching could not be compared to the merit of creating a person, with the addition of the merit of opening the heavens, Taoist Tai Ching's strength after becoming a saint was naturally stronger than Nuwa back then. Set up a sect and go through tribulations. Master of the emperor, master of the emperor, and master of the king. Set up the Tao of heaven, the Tao of earth, and the Tao of man reveal the hidden saint. There are a total of 1,200 lords. Contain trillions of Brahma Chi. Transform into the present and ancient times with the 5,000 words of Taoda. Master Yin and Yang. Life thunder with 9 and 5 numbers. Great sorrow and great wish. Great saint and great mercy. Grand Supreme Elder. Heavenly Lord of Taoda. As long as the countless living beings in the primordial world did not reach Daluo Jingxian, they all bowed in the direction of Taoist Tai Ching and called him the Tai Ching Treasure Hao. That was the heavenly Tao's commendation to Taoist Tai Ching and conferred him the Heavenly Lord of Taoda. It also personally created the treasure Hao for him so that it would appear in the hearts of all living beings, so that they would naturally chant it. Taoist Tai Ching has become a saint. At this moment, all the mighty figures in the primordial world were alarmed as they walked out of the Tao field and looked in the direction of Mount Shoyang. After Taoist Tai Ching became a saint, Taoist Yu Qing and Taoist Shangqing, who were connected to his aura, also understood the opportunity to become a saint. The heavenly Tao is above. The Poor Way Panga Taoist Yu Qing is the primordial beginning. Now that I feel that it is not easy for all living beings in the primordial world to cultivate, I specially set up a sect called Chan, following the will of the heavens, expounding the principles of the heavenly Tao and teaching according to the teachings of the talents. Anyone who is fated can join the sect. With the Khanate cardinal treasure, the Panga banner, suppressing the providence, and the heavenly Tao as proof, Chan's school will be established. On Kunlun Mountain, Taoist Yu Qing held the Panga banner and announced to the sky that he had established Chan's school. Instantly, a supreme pressure that was slightly weaker than Taoist Taichings erupted and suppressed the living beings of the primordial world who had just stood up. Above the Jade Realm there is Brahma Chi, the highest of the highest of the heavens. Yu Luo Shao Tai, Yu Shan Shangjing. Misty Golden Palace, limitless clear waters. Mystic Unity Chi, the predecessor of chaos. There are mysteries within the pearl. Open up the scenery of the heavens and transform the heavens. Billions of naive people are countless. Whirling Duan Li Ji, returning to the 5 elements. Majestic Fan, the sect of 10,000 Tao. Dalio Yu Qing, void and nature. Ultimate Tao, heavenly lord of primordial beginning. When Taoist Yu Qing became a saint, the heavenly Tao conferred him the title of heavenly lord of primordial beginning. His treasure was naturally read out by all living beings. With the heavenly Tao above, the poor Wei Panga Taoist Shangqing is omnipotent. Today, I feel that it is not easy for the living beings of the primordial world to cultivate and do not understand the great Tao. I specially established a sect called Jia. The great Tao is 50 and the heavens have 49. Everything has a chance of survival. Today, I have established Jia School to obtain a chance of survival for all living beings. There is no discrimination in education. Anyone who has the heart of the Tao can join the sect. With the Khanate cardinal treasure, the immortal vanquishing sword array, suppressing the providence, and the heavenly Tao as proof, Jia School will be established. Taoist Shangqing, who is traveling in the Eastern Sea, also established the Jia Order to prove his Tao and become a saint after his 2 elder brothers established a sect to become saints. Swoosh! The moment the celestial slaying sword formation appeared, endless fiendish aura surged out and engulfed the entire primordial world, causing all living beings to be terrified. Even Daluo Jinxian felt his hair stand on end. However, although the celestial slaying sword formation was the strongest, it did not have the ability to suppress fate. Compared to the fate of the humans and Chan School, it was much dimmer. Moreover, under the influence of the fiendish aura, a blood-red color appeared in the fate, burying a hidden danger for the decline of the future generations. In the Shangqing realm, known as Lord Lingbao, ancestral tribulation, more than 99,000 Brahmachi. Crimson script glows, 668 true words. Due to the crimson script of the primordial chaos, the 9 heavens opened. The epic cave is divided into 5 tribulations. The heavenly Tao, the majestic sect of creation. Cardinal Yin Jiyang, the ancestor of lightning, great sorrow and great wish, great sage and great benevolence. Taoist Yu Qin, heavenly Lord Lingbao. Taoist Shangqing became a saint, and the heavenly Tao conferred him the title of heavenly Lord Lingbao. However, compared to Taoist Taiching, Taoist Yu Qing and Taoist Shangqing were obviously weaker. As the saying goes, good and evil are easy to sever, but it is difficult to understand oneself. They were all in the realm of severing 2 corpses, but Taiching had severed 3. As such, his strength after becoming a saint was naturally weaker. Hiss! The 3 pure ones are indeed the orthodox of Pangu, and are favored by the heavenly Tao. They have only just become saints and have not made any achievements, but they have already been conferred by the heavenly Tao and obtained the title of Heavenly Lord. One must know that when Nuwa became a saint, she had cleaned up the ferocious beasts. With such achievements, she has not been conferred by the heavenly Tao this. Can't compare! When the group of mighty figures saw the phenomenon of the 3 pure ones proving their Tao, and compared it to the phenomenon of Nuwa, they could not help but reveal strange expressions, and their thoughts were hard to understand. Taiching Yu, in the palace of Empress Hua, Nua's expression could not help but turn ugly. She did not care about the heavenly lord titles of the three pure ones. To a saint, these were external things that were dispensable. What she cared about was Taoist Taiching's attitude. Taoist Taiching clearly knew that she was the one who created the human race, but he did not even greet her and directly preached among the human race. What did that mean? Was he looking down on her, or was he ignoring her? At that moment, Taoist Taiching, who was immersed in the joy of becoming a saint, did not know that Nua already bore a grudge against him. When the phenomenon of the three pure ones becoming saints disappeared, the mighty figures all looked towards the west. Since the three pure ones had already become saints, would the two in the west be far away? In the west, on Mount Meru, Zhuan-Ti suddenly said to Jain, "Senior brother, the opportunity has arrived. The opportunity for us to become saints is now." "That's right, it's now." Jain nodded and agreed. Seeing that the three pure ones had established their sect and become saints, the Hongmeng purple qi in their bodies trembled inexplicably and emitted endless Taoist rhymes. It was the opportunity for them to become saints. In the name of the heavenly Tao, Jain of the poor way, Zhuan-Ti, has felt the suffering of all living beings, killing and fighting, and there is no way to transcend. Thus, I have established a sect, and I call it the West, holding the Saraira, cultivating the immortal golden body, guiding all living beings to good, without suffering or sorrow, and passing on the way to transcend. It is a place of bliss. With the innate spiritual treasure, the 12th grade golden lotus, suppressing the fate, and the heavenly Tao as the witness, the Western sect shall be established. As soon as the two finished speaking, the sky above was filled with a golden color. Endless qi of merit gathered, and it was twice as much as when Taoist Taiching became a saint. Chapter 133. The qi of merit stopped in the sky for a moment and suddenly split into two. It descended and surged into the bodies of Zhuan-Ti and Jain. However, without the merit of creation, how could the two of them become saints just by relying on the merit of establishing a sect? When the qi of merit entered their bodies, the aura of the two of them immediately soared. However, at the final moment of becoming a saint, the qi of merit was exhausted. The momentum of their advancement came to an abrupt end. Now that things have come to this is the only way. They knew that they could not miss the opportunity. If they missed it, they did not know how long they would have to wait for the next time they wanted to attain the Tao. The two of them looked at each other bitterly and made a decision. Sigh. In the end, we are not as lucky as the three pure ones who have the merit of creation. After sighing, Jain and Zhuan-Ti straightened their expressions. At the same time, they made a great wish to the heavenly Tao. When I was a Buddha, everyone in my Buddhist temple loved and respected each other. There was no hatred or jealousy. If I was not willing, I would not become a Buddha. When I was a Buddha, everyone in my Buddhist temple had the same kind heart. They did not doubt other thoughts. What they wanted to say was foresight. If I was not willing, I would not become a Buddha. When I was a Buddha, everyone in my Buddhist temple knew that their bodies were like illusions. There was no greed in their hearts. If I was not willing, I would not become a Buddha. Stuck at the juncture of Tao validation, Jain and Zhuan-Ti were helpless. They could only use the great wish technique to borrow boundless merit from the heavenly Tao and become saints. However, although this technique could help the two of them attain the Tao, it also caused their strength to be at the bottom of the saints. The two of them made a total of 48 great wishes before they gathered the merit to attain the Tao. Immediately, purple qi filled the sky and auspicious clouds appeared. Countless rays of light flew towards the west. Sanskrit chants sounded on Mount Meru. Golden flowers fell from the sky and golden lotuses appeared on the ground. Many strange phenomena occurred. The connate spiritual energy increased by several times. Jie and Juan-Ti sat upright on Mount Meru with a smile on their faces. They faced the eastern boundary and spoke of the great Tao mantra, describing the Tao of relics. Lotus flowers flew out with a seductive intent. Those who heard it could not help but yearn for the Western paradise. It was no wonder that the two of them were like that. In fact, their attainment of the Tao was a trick. Making a great wish was like borrowing from the heavenly Tao. However, it was not so easy to take advantage of the heavenly Tao. If they were unable to complete it, they would suffer the backlash of the heavenly Tao. At that time, not to mention losing their positions as saints, they might not even be able to keep their lives. In order to protect the position of the saint, Juan-Ti and Juan-Ti were bound to fulfill their great wish. They would prosper the Western sect and save the world. However, the Western sect was barren. If they wanted to rely on this place to prosper the Western sect, they would not be able to do so even if the immeasurable calamity descended. Therefore, the two of them set their sights on the east, where outstanding people lived. He wanted to cross all the fated people in the east and prosper the Western sect to fulfill his great wish. One had to know that after the great ambition was completed, the heavenly Tao would bestow rewards. The greater the ambition, the more generous the reward. Judging from the great ambition made by Juan-Ti and Juan-Ti, once it was completed, the reward would be unprecedented. How dare you? On the sun star, Dong Huang Tai saw many demons emitting Buddhist light. Apparently, they were bewitched by the Sanskrit chants. He couldn't help but be enraged. He roared towards the west and suddenly rang the Donghuang bell. Dang! The world suddenly lost its sound. The great path fell into silence. Time and space stopped moving. Even many mighty figures lost consciousness for a short time. Only the sound of the bell echoed. After an unknown period of time, it seemed like a moment, but also like thousands of years. The world returned to normal. The vision of Juan-Ti and Juan-Ti's path confirmation disappeared. Peace was restored on the sun star. Who won? After regaining consciousness, the mighty figures were curious about the result of the battle between the two sides. They hurriedly looked at the sun star, but their eyes were full of bright white. It was Donghuang Tai who covered the sun star. The mighty figures retracted their gazes and looked at Mount Meru. They saw Juan-Ti and Juan-Ti sitting in the void with a smile, continuing to talk about the method of condensing the Sarira. However, at this moment, their voices were only heard in the west. They could no longer reach the east. Did Tai win? Or could it be that another saint intervened? There was no doubt that the two saints of the west were at a disadvantage in this battle. Otherwise, how could they be at ease preaching in the west? However, whether it was Tai who suppressed the two saints of the west or the other saints who helped, the mighty figures lost consciousness at that time and had no way of knowing. However, they could not know. But those saints and existences who were infinitely close to being saints saw it clearly. What? How can Tai be so strong that he can fight the two saints of the west to a draw? In Empress Wa's palace, Nuwa stood up in shock and looked at the sun star in disbelief. How is that possible? Tai hasn't stepped into the realm of origin yet, but he's already so powerful. If he advances further, won't he be invincible? When the time comes, Tai and Dijun will join forces. What will we saints do? On Mount Kunlun, Yuan Shi Tianzuan's eyelids twitched wildly. He had never thought that Tai would have such combat strength. He could fight the two of them alone and still not be at a disadvantage. Didn't they say that all below the saints were ants? What's wrong with Tai? Even if Juan-Ti and Ji'in were the weakest saints, it shouldn't be like this. I wonder if the former number one in the primordial world can block the poor Wei's immortal slaying sword formation. On the East Sea, Tongtian's fighting spirit rose. The 4 immortal slaying swords seemed to sense his mood and made clanging sounds, shocking the creatures of the Sea Clan within a radius of millions of miles. On the other hand, Taoist Taiching, who was on Mount Shoyang, was calm. No one knew what he was thinking. Senior brother, with the shamans and demons dominating the primordial world, we can't even preach, let alone prosper. What should we do? As soon as the mighty figures looked away, Zhuan Ti frowned and said to Zhuan Ti, compared to losing the battle with Tai Yi and not being able to preach, it was just a small matter. After all, the former would only lose face in front of everyone and would not lose a piece of flesh. The latter was a fatal matter. If they could not prosper the Western sect, they might really die. It's fine. From the poor way's point of view, the shamans and demons have deep negative karma. It's not a long-term sign, Taoist Jain said, shaking his head. The shamans and demons had dominated the primordial world for many years. They had killed countless people and accumulated a lot of resentment. Their negative karma was so deep that even saints were terrified. They only needed to wait for a fuse to detonate it. At that time, the 2 races would not be far from decline. Zhuan Ti followed the guidance and saw the luck of the shamans and demons. Indeed, there was a thick layer of negative karma on the luck of the 2 races. It was constantly eating away at the luck of the 2 races. Only when the negative karma completely suppressed the luck of the 2 races would the beginning of the decline of the 2 races. How long do we have to wait? It seems that we still need the poor way's help. Moreover, Tai Yi is too much of a bully. The poor way needs to give him retribution and let him understand that saints can't be humiliated. Zhuan Ti silently calculated the speed at which the negative karma was eating away at his luck. He immediately looked dissatisfied and looked at the sun. No one knew what he was thinking. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.